Hey, what's up, and welcome to the show. What's up, Ryan?
Hey, I hope everyone's having a great Thursday for the hangout.
Heck yeah!
Sort of quarantined, but
Quarantine hangout. Welcome to it.
Quar-
It snowed today too, right?
oh yeah, it
It
did. It snowed
almost
at my
like if we
house.
could erase this line right here. I mean, it look you have this nice new setup. Looks great. I think this works
New,
well.
new cool Christmas present camera. So I'm looking better. Even through Zoom better.
Hell yeah, we got some viewers out there today. I see some folks out there. I don't know if you
Yeah,
want to jump in. I got this new moderator view you were talking about. I'm looking at it right now.
I know. I was playing with it last time. So Adam was on what the other day playing Metroid Fusion.
Yeah, it was Fusion. So
And I was jumping in and doing in the moderating stuff, which was super cool. Metroid Fusion might be coming up later in the show too.
we're gonna have to play it too if we can. Yeah, that'd
Yeah.
be fun. So we got to
Hey,
that point.
anyone new to the stream? This is Adam and I are hanging out. We do this every other Thursday. We really try to talk about like art and technology, and usually we're into like news and AI stuff and 3D printing and yeah, all of that good stuff. I just because I talked to a few new people about the show in the last seeing people over break and things like that. So
No, and it's
uh,
always good. This is the
yeah,
first time this year we're starting the show. This is the first
happy New
show of
Year.
the year. So happy New Year. We did our end of year show. Cheers. Yeah, cheers to that. Be for that. I don't know. Cha-ching, sir.
There we go. Oh, yours did a way better like zoom in and then zoom back out on your cup. That was awesome.
No, what was cool was we did the wrap up, and just to give you a quick heads up, I think we're a little unstable on the stream right now, so we'll see if you're not hearing us. We're probably a little bit behind on there. We should probably be able to get back, and that's what happens when you put the Zoom call in and all these other aspects on
Oh,
this,
that's
but.
true.
It should catch up pretty soon. But what I was gonna say is it's awesome to be in the year. There's so much that we did. I feel so accomplished with the board
Yeah.
game and being able to
Oh,
play
me
it.
too.
It's like I tell
Like,
people I made a board game, and it's like it's done.
yeah, like it is up. It's on printables, right? You can
Yeah,
you can search for it. Frostbite, the Curse of Dr. Frost. Like brand new instructions got uploaded this week, so it is like out the door and ready for people to print it and play it.
Sh-
And
should I put this in the chat? I should go look it
yeah,
up
yeah,
on printables here. So we'll
nice.
check it in there. I played it multiple times. Did I tell you I played it with my son the other day? It was
You,
awesome.
we were like doing something else when you mentioned it, but yeah, like and it was fun again, I assume.
Yeah, no, it was great. It was a fun experience. I think we did end up winning, but it was one of those new storylines that
Yeah.
makes it like a challenge. And I thought in two you could also play with multiple people at once, like
Hmm.
multiple two people, four on the board, so you could help
Oh, right.
make different decisions if you wanted to go that route. So that was
I
cool
see. So
too.
you'd be like, I'm playing as two characters,
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah, that's cool. I like that idea.
So what do we got in store for tonight, Ryan? Let's do the rundown on the show.
Let's do
And
the rundown. It's a full night with no news. So typically we go in with this and we have like stories that we're going to talk about and like, but it's the beginning of the year. Nobody is releasing stuff or doing things. I mean, the only thing that I could even think of is like the New York Times is sued OpenAI,
oh
right,
yeah,
for copyright stuff, which is kind of like,
it's the legal year of AI.
yeah, I feel like we're going to get into a lot of that and yeah, we're going to see where that goes. I mean, that could affect like what we are doing. I mean, I don't know how much they're going to pull back on things and say like, okay, these certain I think that's where Adobe Firefly really tried to cover its own butt, right? So
Yeah,
that they wouldn't be getting sued now because they just Adobe Firefly trains all of their like large language models or for images on their own stock photography that they are illustrations that they've already paid for. But yeah, I feel like we're gonna get into a ton of that this year. It's gonna be intense.
and I think that's all we can really can think about anymore is that it's just going to be all these different things about AI and how we should use it and who owes who money. Somebody was doing something else where They were gonna. They said they had. Yeah, they were gonna. It was the New York Times. There was another one though, and I can't remember what it was right offhand. But we're not doing news right now, Ryan.
We're
What are
not
we
doing
gonna
news.
do?
We're not doing news. So we're doing a couple like there's been a thing that I have been using AI for the past 4 or 5 months that I have not told Adam a single thing about that I'm going to talk about right now, or once we get done with this.
Start it out.
And then we're going to let's see. So the next one is we're gonna play with some stuff. We're gonna do some hands-on with just some new cool AI and image generation stuff that we have access to. But then I feel like the majority of this is like, we are new year, new us, new project.
Absolutely.
And like, what are we going to do for this new project? We've been teasing it for the last 3 or 4 shows. We've been talking about which, like bringing up ideas of what we want to do for our next big project after the AI board game. And I think we figured it out, and we're going to talk about it. We're going to have an amazing, like, high energy hangout brainstorm around this project. There are no bad ideas going into tonight.
I know, and I think that's going to be good. Ryan, I'm going to just call out. We're getting pretty lagged up right now on the stream, so we may have to take a second to see if we could get that fixed up, because we don't want to just go into it. And I think you have a really good project with this thing that's happening. So let's check into that real quick. And
do you want to do something else? Do you want to do something else to try to let it like?
Yeah, we're gonna put it into a quick pause mode, and then we'll be right back. Give us just a few minutes. I'm gonna go kick some kids off. We got a first time chatter here.
Vendetta Red. Thanks, Vendetta Red.
We're gonna be right back on. I gotta go kick a kid off of a Fortnite game.
Yeah, just son of a bitch, Fortnite.
You still can be talking though.
Oh, okay. So. We're just going to card here for a minute. Today I didn't have enough, so I poured myself a drink before the show started, and I was like, I'm gonna finish off this bullet rye whiskey, and then there was not enough for one single drink, and so I just mixed another whiskey in with it, and I don't know. That's probably like not exactly the right thing to do, but I was drinking this and I was like, hey, whiskey is whiskey. I don't feel like I have the taste for it to be able to tell the difference between the two. And I was like, hey, that seems fine to me.
All right. I'm back. We're unstable according to this thing because and I'm wondering if it's the freezing. We are freezing our butts off where we're at right now. I don't know if that's something that you've seen with your internet. When you get really cold out, things start to not work as well. So we're in an unstable connection according to our readouts.
That's too bad. Do you maybe want to like play something to start the show off? Just like something. Do you want to play a video game?
You know
or
what?
Something?
Because we know where we're headed. Let's see if we can get Metroid going for a second, because that's what we were going to talk about.
Hey, you played it the other day. I would love to see some more Metroid Fusion, and maybe we can just ride this out. And
we're gonna give it a few minutes. Usually it recovers pretty quickly, but I have not seen it. We are at 41% drop frames at this stage right now, which is not good. That's not a good amount of frames to drop when you're wanting to do a live show. That's as awesome.
So
as
I didn't know Fusion or Metroid Fusion. I had never played Metroid Fusion before. Like I was less of a Metroid. I was more Castlevania.
Or you mean Metroid just in general, probably,
just
right?
Metroid in general. And then I assume you're playing it from an actual cartridge?
On a Game Boy Advance cartridge.
A Game Boy Advance cartridge. Nice.
All right, let's get this going. Oh.
Yeah, I can see it. It's like right where you left off.
That's how you do. Oh man, I can't even. Oh, I remember. I was at this point. What do I have? Does it show me my status?
Oh yeah, right. You're like, where's my next checkpoint, please? Could you give me a rundown of the story again now that I've logged back in?
So you get 83. Oh man, 499 points with missiles. 26 of 80. That's great. All right, so there's this map. So I think I just Need to figure out what my objective is. So what I like about these kind of games, Ryan, first of all, the mapping is fun because you're going back and forth through the map. And so as we start
Right.
to think about some of the next steps of projects and things we think in the future, that this is the kind of thing that I think is fun.
You know what is hilarious? So as I watched you play yesterday, which was only like what, maybe because I came in late, so I was like the last like 45 minutes or an hour. I was watching you play it, and I wrote down a bunch of notes in
Did
the Trello board.
Nice, like good things that you thought were good or bad, or
just it was more like what is something that has to be in this genre, right? Like the genre has a map that you can go to and that gets filled in as you discover rooms.
oh yeah,
right?
like the things that you need to have happen. I gotcha.
Yeah, I was just like, as I was watching it, I was like, you have to have rooms where when you re-enter the room, all the enemies are back. I feel like that's like a part of the thing, because then you can farm things, and that's just like like a difficulty part of it. Man, I could start going through it, but I almost want to save it.
Yeah, we'll save some of that. So even as we look at this kind of stuff, like some of the things that I like about the graphics is this parallax backgrounds. And well, and that one doesn't have it as much as well. It kind of does. Oh man, I love this nav room. It just looks so sweet. Not that we're gonna like copy this exactly.
Yeah.
Let's see here. So the hard part is,
and like you showed me like there was a Game Boy. What was it? You shared it in the Discord. It was like Game Boy. What's the one that like the platform that you can use to make Game Boy games?
oh, GB Studio.
Yeah. So you're like here's a Metroidvania, right? In GB Studio. And looking at that after watching this, I was like, not good enough.
For GB,
I don't think I want to make a Game Boy. I think it has to be minimum Game Boy Advance game.
oh yeah, so you're saying like this level, you want something?
Like I feel like this is the level of
okay,
like, fidelity that I want, and sort of like I don't want to sort of be limited by the pixels. I want the pixels to be like the art of it, right? I want it to be pixel art, right? But then I want to be like, okay, it's pixel art, but I'm not like, oh, I only have 200 pixels to work with and have to like cram everything into that. It's why I think it's probably going to have to be a more modern.
So what are we going to build it on is the question.
So I have a few suggestions.
Oh, he has some suggestions. I was just trying to play that for a second to see how that was going to come off. I think we're just going to have to roll with it and see how this goes. And we're going to have a buffered VOD if that's where we need to make this happen, because I think that's going to look just fine.
I think the VOD always looks fine, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. So
like the VOD always looks fine. So we'll just have to go with it.
We had the vamp for the 21st minutes. 21st minutes.
The 20
for the first 21 minutes of the show. So we're gonna restart it. You have some cool things that you want to talk about. Let's see what that is about.
Okay, so this year, or over the last couple of years, my parents moved to like Nevada, and in the towns that they live in, they have casinos at their towns, right?
Yeah.
And so one thing, they have all the normal gambling stuff, but then what they also have is like during football season, they'll have these big things where they'll like hand out pieces of paper and you put your name on it and you say who is going to win each of these football games, and you don't say by how much or anything. It's just straight up this team, this team.
Yeah, it's a pick 'em lead.
The pick 'em, and so it's Sunday to Monday. Okay. So my dad did it, for a couple, because my dad watches football. He like follows football, so he was like, oh, I'm going to do it. And like, if you get in the top certain percent, or like you get in the top 10 or the top 30 or something like that, you can win money. If let's say you pick every single one perfectly, you could win like $1,000 or whatever.
Yeah.
Or then like people below get like $50 or whatever. And so my mom this year came to me and she was like, here's the deal. I don't know crap about football. Like, I don't also know anything about football necessarily. I don't follow football. And she was like, what if you asked an AI who is going to win these games?
Yeah.
And then we'll see if the AI predicts them correctly with all its like statistics that it has in the background, hopefully. And like your dad will put in his pick and we'll put in our AI pick.
Sure.
And then like we'll see at the end of the season if anybody won any cash, right? Or who did better. With the things.
Yeah, sure.
And so that's what we've been doing for the last
every
this
week
entire football season. Every single week, we went in. Actually, we missed 1 week because they were gone for Christmas somewhere else. So we couldn't turn it in for Christmas. But we had 15 weeks or whatever of choices back and forth. And so today is the day where I want to see who won, who like how well the AI did in choosing.
Oh, you're gonna
like,
check
my
it
whole
out.
Experience. Well, like I could just talk about it.
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah.
I
Okay, hell yeah.
Okay. So when my mom came to me to this, ChatGPT had not upgraded to 4 or I think it had 4, but it was still like it only had stuff from 2021 or 2022 or whatever.
Right.
And they only just upgraded it to now it's like April of 2023 or something. So it's still not up to date. So I was like, well, I can't use ChatGPT. So then I went to Google Bard and I was like, okay, I'm going to use Google Bard because Google Bard is like hooked up to the internet. It knows current things you could talk about, ask it about current movies and stuff like that. So I go, great. So my mom sends me the list and I go, awesome. I go, hey, Google Bard, who's going to win all the NFL games this weekend? Oh. Do you hear that?
The AI was listening to you.
The AI was listening and it's trying to tell me things. So anyway, so I was like, okay, hey, like, who's going to win these games? It goes, yeah, here's all the games for this weekend and here's who's going to win them. And I start looking at them and I'm like, those aren't the teams playing this weekend. Like I'm looking at the list and looking at what it gave me. And it was like, that's not who's playing in the first week together.
Right.
So I was like, all right, I got to do them. So it doesn't like it when you just ask, it just comes up with whatever.
Just makes up.
I had to ask one game at a time. I had to be like, who do you think is going to win this Sunday? The Bills or the Jaguars? And then it would be like, okay. So then I could get answers from it, at least at that point. Now, I'm going to say this is very much shows, my experience with this very much shows that difference where, do you remember when I talked about the OpenAI story? And I was like, one of the big things was they think that they were able to like marry together those two different types of thinking that AI do. Yeah, right? So like, it's that deterministic side and the probabilistic side, right? And ChatGPT is like probabilistic and the whole rest of the internet is deterministic. And this was really where you could tell that it is not in that deterministic side because sports is very deterministic. People played for the teams that they played for. They're, they have the statistics that they have. And like it was doing a bad, even me with cursory knowledge of football was like, it would just, so one thing is occasionally it would just be like, I would go, who's going to win, the Broncos or the Raiders? And it would say like, I don't think it's right for me to tell you like who's going to win. Like it almost had like a moral thing, but it would be like the fourth one down. I was like, you already gave me 3 answers of this. Like, why are you suddenly?
Because they probably think that like the first couple is honest, and it's like this guy's probably gambling.
Well, and then I would just ask it again, and it would be like, okay, like not even hesitate, right? I would just ask it again, and it would do it. Sometimes it would say like, it's too close. It's too close to call. Like I can't do it. And so then I would say, if you had to pick, could you please pick one? And then it would give it to me, And then sometimes it would tell me, okay, here are the 2 teams, and I think this one's going to win, and that's it. And sometimes it would give me like full statistics of like probability breakdowns and like betting odds.
It's because it's probably hitting on all the sites that have that, right?
Totally.
It gets like fantasy football and stuff.
But it was so weird. It was so especially at first, it was very inconsistent. Sometimes it would give me that. Sometimes it would give me no. It would just give me the answer or say I don't know. Or And then it would get things wrong all the time. I would type in and be like, who's going to win this weekend, the Broncos or the Raiders? And it would say like, that game already happened. Like it happened on January 15th. Like it already happened. And so I can't really tell you what happened. But I was like, no, January 15th hasn't happened yet. Like you can still tell me. Like it would say that it was like later in the time. And so then I would write it back and I would say, no, January 17th hasn't happened yet. Like the game still hasn't happened. It would go, oh, you're right. And then it would give me everything. Else.
It's like weird, crazy personalities, multiple
Yeah.
personalities of things, and it like
Well, and then it would do weird things too, where it would say, like, I don't know that much about football, so I bet it was getting a ton of things wrong. But it would say, like, here's why I think the Buccaneers are going to win. Or here's the, he would say, here's the Buccaneers. I think they're going to win as long as they do these three things. And it would be like, as long as they protect Brady. I was like, pretty sure Tom Brady doesn't play for the Buccaneers
he does.
anymore. Like,
anymore? No, yeah, I see what you're saying.
Well, I'm looking for this season, right? And
yeah.
like, that's who I'm trying to get.
I mean, it's like it's pulling facts about football across the board.
Totally. Like it just knows Buccaneers and Brady, and so it just says like, I think they should protect Brady, right? And that's where it's just sort of coming up with whatever thinks it sounds good for it, like as opposed to actually what it was. And so what I think it was doing for the most part, it was just kind of choosing the middle of the road, whatever the betting line was for who they thought was going to win. Okay, so do you want to see the or I could just like
let's see it.
If you want to go,
yeah, I'll pull it up.
If you want to go into the Trello board, right? Okay. There's basically like a document inside the AI run-up show.
I'm pulling it up right now, and then I'll show it.
And you can see the win-loss ratio of Becky, and she put IA as opposed to AI, which is such a fun grandma way to do it.
All right, hold on.
And you can see her picks and my dad's picks, and whether anyone won the pool or won any money off of it any of the weeks.
All right, we're loading Word. Here we go.
And here's another thing. I don't think it necessarily got that much better over the 4 months. Like, I was like, oh, at some point, I'll just be able to type in, give me all the scores. And that never worked, ever.
All right, here we go. Are you ready to look at this?
Yeah.
We're going to it. Okay. You got to walk us through this, Ryan.
Yeah, okay. So I mean, it's pretty simple here. Weeks 1 through 18, right? Here's the Becky AI picks and my dad's picks on the right. And then on the third column or the fourth column there is anytime something like, that they figured out happened. Yeah. So for the first, 7 weeks, nobody won anything. The AI was basically keeping up with my dad, right? Like week 2, the AI blew out my dad. But every other week, it's like down 1 or it's up 1. And so I sort of feel like it's kind of in line with it. Now, weeks 8 and 9, it killed it. Like it won $100 over those 8 and 9 weeks.
Yeah.
Like,
wait,
this is where, yeah.
But it's 12 wins. Okay, so he had 12 wins. And it's so close, though, right?
Well, because here's what it is like. And there's a little explanation of it down below.
Yeah.
And we could put this in the show notes if anybody wants to. But basically is like, I told my parents, I was like, go and ask how many people enter this, right?
Yeah.
Because then we'll know like how well it did. And she said they wouldn't tell them, but she thinks it's probably between like 500 and 700 people enter this. And you have to be in the top 20 to win money.
Yeah.
So like, so even when my dad only got 11 wins and the AI got 12 wins, my mom, actually got money out of it where my dad did. So 12 and 11. And this, at that point in the season, we were like, holy shit. Like maybe this is like the sweet thing that like is now going to predict, and we're just going to like run, and these old people that are trying to do this with their brain over at these casinos, we got these suckers pegged.
Well, you can't say with a casino here. You don't want to dox your parents, but that's awesome.
No,
so, I mean, did you statistically come up with this? So it basically by the end was saying that your mom won by 100 and.
Yeah, my mom basically won $150.
Nice.
Like through this. And then my dad didn't win a single time with his real life picks,
Was he
even
mad?
though he did do
Damn you,
better.
AI.
I know, right? But yeah, like it won that, and it was fun to go through and like do it and sort of see who is winning. Like my dad is a big Bears fan, and so he would like choose the Bears even though maybe they weren't going to win, and the AI didn't care. Yeah, I so if you were gonna say if you didn't care about it and you just wanted AI to choose your fantasy football picks or doing that, you'd probably do better than just not choosing it randomly. But I don't think it's gonna take over Vegas anytime soon.
Well, in that case, you just didn't know your prompts. You had to do the right kind of prompts, Ryan. Because
Yeah,
I was actually, now that you started getting into, I was thinking of fantasy football. And have you played
yeah.
fantasy football before?
I have. I one time I played fantasy football.
So every week you end up going in and you're like looking at all the statistics of your players, and they have like readouts and all that. I'm just wondering like how many people right now are like taking those readouts, taking those statistics and running them more like against not just like who's going to win or lose, but like, all right, here's the whole like readout of each of these teams.
Well,
And then like
the only
based off these stats, give me some probability that this person's going to be like the one.
I feel like in some ways they already did that. The only time I ever played it was like 4 or 5 years ago, and I just used the app.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I didn't watch a single football game that year, and I know nothing about football.
Oh, jeez.
But like the app just tells you everything. The app is just like, hey, these are where your players are ranked. This is where you should like maybe think about trading people. Like
they make it easy.
I
I
won
agree.
Third place. I won third place in my
Well,
fantasy football league.
there you go. By just looking at the numbers, that's like it's a science. But I guess that's what I'm saying is like, what if you watched the games and you watched more of like something that's not quantifiable in a metric like that, and you use those
Yeah.
metrics, and you're like, hey, that's what's happening. But I noticed that, I don't know, through nonverbal whatevers, you're seeing like the coaches don't seem like they're happy, and these things are doing this, and so hey, here's the stats, but based off of my perception of how the team unity is together,
You're
and
right. That's true.
and the upcoming weather and this kind of
Yeah, like the
thing,
thousands of. Yeah, I mean, hey, if
Give
they're
some
gonna
data
do that,
points.
if they're gonna do that for sports, they're gonna do it for money markets and stuff like that first.
I know, it's like feels like all that stuff is gonna be gamed by AI. Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that.
Hey,
Like, it's a
totally.
huge long on like AI kind of test and doing different things to see how that works in real life. So
And so I will come back in February with who AI and Bard thinks is gonna win the Super Bowl, and I'm gonna put $50 on it.
all right,
No,
so
I don't trust it at all to put any money on its actual choices.
I know. Well, that was a cool like little test. I'm wondering, did it go search Bing then? Was that what it was doing? It was like actually searching the web when you
I
would
think so.
prompt that? Okay.
Yeah. And
How did the
Hold on,
commanders do?
I didn't before this season. If you would have told me the Commanders were a real team, a real name of a team, I would have been like, no. But they are, and I don't remember.
I know.
Who are the Washington? It's like it's what
Washington Commanders, yes.
I see. It's what their racist other name changed into, right?
Yeah. I don't know Commanders how that. So you were talking about to move on this Leonardo AI real time canvas.
Oh
and I
yeah,
have no.
like so our
Okay.
hands-on thing, Leonardo. It's
Help me through this, Ryan. Talk me through this.
It's basically what this is a drawing assistant, I guess. I don't know. It's not really that. Like it's more like a fun weird thing of using AI for like creating imagery. Basically what it does is like you draw on it has two canvases next to each other.
Okay.
On one canvas, you use your, tablet or your mouse to draw stuff, and then in real time on the other side of the canvas, it is coming up with like an AI version of what that is. And then you can also help it along by giving it text prompts and changing the text prompt at the same time. And
Okay.
what I thought was neat about it is like, let's say there was like a very specific angle you were trying to get, or a very specific character. And this is what made me think of, maybe what we're going to be doing next. But like, or in a very specific style, but you wanted it to look something like what you're drawing. That could be this could be a way to do it. Um, oh man, I still have mine up. I wonder.
Wait, are these yours?
No, no.
Oh,
Uh, mine. I'm gonna go back to the editor. Okay. Real time canvas. The second one on the top.
this is the one you're talking about. Oh god, I'm gonna have to
Yep.
draw with a mouse.
Yeah, you're gonna
Oh,
draw with a
shoot.
mouse here. And to start with, dang it. Okay. So to start with, we need to draw something, but don't put in a prompt yet because I
Where's the
didn't
prompt?
realize.
Oh, down here. Okay,
The
gotcha.
prompt is at the bottom, so don't put anything in yet. Just draw it because I didn't realize you could put in a prompt when I very first started this.
Yeah, yeah.
And so it was very funny to me for it to try to figure out what I was going to do. Oh, very quiet, Kylia says of us.
I know. I think
Hmm.
like usually Kylie hears us very quiet on whatever device. I don't know what.
Stream volume. I don't know.
I
It's always tough.
know. It's something that's been a challenge as we've been navigating this. But if you were
Yeah.
a little quiet, let us know. Turn up your
Yeah.
stream volume, the whole thing, like up 25%.
Turn you down then up. Yeah, will it go any higher? I almost feel like, aren't we like maxed out?
I think so. I don't know if there's a way I can get it back up. Let's see. I'm gonna try one more thing. Let's see if this gets us up there. That's the volume of the thing.
Meh. Well, we'll have to figure it out. You just have to crank us up really loud.
100% volume. We're gonna have to work on this, Kyle. You thank you for helping us with that because we just talked about it actually before the stream. We did some of the planning, but I don't know if there's anything I can do on the fly. It's a little bit more complex of a setup that I got going down here. So, well, let me see. Tell me if this works.
She says even in OBS you can increase overall past 100.
Is that any better? I cranked up another one,
Cranked it up.
and it should be a lot louder. So, not great,
Better.
but better.
Okay. You hear Ryan? That's all that matters anyway.
You can hear Ryan better, but not me. How's that? All right. We're gonna have to do this a little bit different. Ryan's actually better. Adam, wait. Oh, better. We got
Okay.
better.
Nice.
See, we got people helping us out on the Hangout. We're just hanging
That
out.
is so appreciative of that for sure. Because we don't know, right? It's like I can hear Adam.
I'm drawing what now? Should I draw anything
Yeah.
specifically?
No, okay. Well, I mean, I drew something very simple, like just to kind of, but yeah, like, is there what should we draw? Something that's like easily recognizable.
I
that
always
you can
draw.
just draw
I always draw
freehand.
faces though, so I need
Okay.
help to. And my faces are always really creepy.
You're gonna draw creepy. All right, like a Frankenstein face.
Oh wait, this is really small. Not
Well,
small.
you could
but
change.
how do I back
You could
this up?
change like.
Oh
the
god, that
thickness of
it
the-
started doing something.
Yeah. So it's gonna in real time. As soon as you lift up the pencil, like it's going to start trying to guess basically what you're doing.
All right, let's see here. Drawing a face. And I'm not gonna let
Right.
it go.
This almost looks like a graffiti face.
Well, it is. It's gonna be very. Okay, so it's like a
Nice.
damn.
It's like hair.
Looking good on there. Not as good as this thing I was about to draw. Oh my god, this is hard with the mouse. This is an eyeball. You're not doing it very good.
Oh. See, I love it. It's taking its best guess, right?
It totally does not look anything like what I'm drawing, but okay.
Nope. The thing that I was drawing, it had a real hard time, and mine was far simpler than this. Like I feel like it gets down a direction, and then it like won't change what the direction is.
It just wants to be
It just wants to
a
be
punk
a
rocker
chick
cyberpunk.
with a uh,
Okay.
leather jacket on.
Like this is
I
your
feel like this was too complicated, Adam.
No,
You
that's
needed
fine.
like
No, that's fine. Because I wanted to push it first. I wanted to go to this level of seeing like because I was expecting it to take the shape of what I was creating, but why
and
would it put it at profile?
I think it sort of like did it at first, and now it just keeps trying to update the very first image that it did. Like I feel like we have gone far beyond. Like it should know. Okay, so now
Oh, wait. Got to put the ears on, Ryan. That was it.
that was it.
It was the ears. What if it was like banned for inappropriate?
Yeah,
Because what's going
inappropriate.
on? Why are we getting like?
Oh, you're like as soon as you draw curves in anything, it just assumes you're trying to draw cleavage.
Jesus. Okay, it's like it's making me want to draw what it's
Yeah.
doing. I'm like, okay, I could adapt and make it this
I guess
this girl.
we could draw bangs.
Now it's changing her clothing by adjusting the hair. This is good.
It's weird. It doesn't.
I mean, okay. So now what do you want me to do? Prompt. I was
Yeah,
just like,
well, see, because the problem is like you're
Okay.
gonna put face, and there's already gonna be a face on there.
so how simple should I go? Wait, creativity strength. Let me turn that down a little bit. Oh,
Oh, okay.
there we go.
I mean, at least that's like closer to
Oh, and I have to do different colors and stuff. Oh, look at
Uh,
that.
like
Look at
'cause
that.
it's like hardly creative at all, right? It put like a Photoshop filter over the top
So it
of it.
was like, what percentage of creative? Oh, it's like making it like it's a pilot. Doesn't
Yeah.
realize that's hair. Okay, that's cool.
Like so in the prompt, put like woman.
Hold on a second. Will that change things?
I don't know.
Because it's really dark. Like I wanted to put it like a white.
So it starts you with a dark background, and I wonder if there's a reason for that.
It's like easier
Like
to
it's
do.
probably
Why?
using Midjourney or some kind of like something around that.
All right. Well, I'm gonna prompt
And
it now. This is good because like look at that. Like very
Yeah.
terrible mouse drawing to pilot with very determined eyes. So what am I gonna prompt on this? Wait, what's
was the X's across the head Frankenstein?
It was just more or less I'm putting random stuff in here. Oh, you have these
I thought-
different other things that you can pick out. Like
Yeah,
let's
yeah.
see-
Which are also cool.
okay. It's cinematic. I'm gonna do fantasy art. What we got there? So, okay, I guess photography.
Okay.
It's so dark. Is it not? Is it not dark on your side?
Because I think yours is really dark, right? Like because yours is like very thin. So like
How do you get
now color her hair in orange
How do I
or
do
something.
that? How do I like get the background? Like I just did that. Like the whole background changed the color, but now it's not.
I think like you want like the pen to change a color, right?
Yeah, but the background of this whole image, right?
No, but like you're just gonna have to change. I think it's like it wants you to have a dark background and it wants you to do like light on top of that, I think.
All right. I shouldn't have picked that blue. Why did it give me blue? I'm going to be very simple now. What? Oh, because I have black and white sketch. I gotcha. I gotcha. This is working. It's working, Ryan. This is a
I
great
don't know
one.
what it's like graffiti style. It's like try something that isn't. Oh my god,
Oh,
that's pretty
wait.
good.
Well, it's like what like. Oh shit! Yeah, that one. That's it. That's what I was going for.
Perfect.
I did it. All right, I'm gonna start over. Is that what I'm trying to do? Here?
Start over and try to draw like something
Like Jesus?
like a sailboat or something.
Why would you say sailboat?
I don't know. I was trying to think of like an object,
All right, fair
that
enough.
wasn't too simple. Like you could put it on the ocean, right?
Fair enough. How come it wants everything to be a mouth? Oh my god, what is that? I'm gonna be very simple. Okay, that's the terrible sailboat. So I'm gonna back out of that, and we're gonna do another boat that's a little bit bigger. This looks like a bean.
No, that's okay. I think maybe what style do you have it on? Or
Dynamic. I could do
do more creative, yeah.
it.
What?
It's like one of those covers of a.
Okay, then put in just write in sailboat below
Okay.
and see if that helps it out.
Oh, it kind of does.
Right.
But it
So then
takes
I was
the shape that I just did.
that's what I'm saying. Like that's what I thought was neat about it is if you like let's say you wanted a sailboat that was like a very specific angle of
Yeah,
this,
that's
right?
true.
And like how the sail looks in the specific like style that you want. Like I feel like you could do that or you could like sit there and try to get to that point
Look at
like by prompting it over and over again and hoping that it does. I was like, this is kind of a cool way to think about it.
look. You know what's kind of cool is as you talked about it. I put sailboat in and it shows a sailboat because like what if you
Yeah,
didn't know how to do a sailboat? So now I'm
right.
like, okay, cool. So the way they do it is this way. So if I like make it like this is the
I see.
like it gets a little closer to that shape, I guess, right?
Totally.
And then let's put some like waves.
But I could imagine this
Oh,
with like, let's say you were working on it on like, a cool iPad with like the Apple
yeah.
Pen, and then you could just be like sketching and doing stuff in this, and
Oh,
I think that's the sale.
makes it much more dramatic. Oh,
Yeah, because then you're like, oh, it's almost like you could see where it's what it's kind of thinking.
it's flooding it. We gotta draw our little kraken attacking it.
Oh yeah. You see, okay, but now write in the thing sailboat like with Kraken attack.
Squid. Nope.
I think maybe your drawing is got a
Do
little
not judge me, Ryan. I know your art critique. This is amazing work right
your
here.
your giant splash of waves has
This is
covered up
probably
too much of it.
driving you nuts. Like you were like,
I was like, I could have been there standing there, like,
you're like, give me that mouse right
oh
now. That
god,
could have been
I'm
mine.
sharing my
Could
screen. I don't
have
care
been
how it
me.
looks.
No, that's fun. No, so I guess there's some cool stuff. I'm just curious of why they have Jesus as
I
their
assume
logo.
that's like their logo or something.
Okay, I want to do one more thing. So I want to build a kraken like I was, or yeah, let's do that. Like, what is a kraken the right word? Probably not.
Yeah, like a giant squid.
It'd be cool to like just like draw something without ever lifting the.
Oh, sure, like a single line.
There we go.
Yeah, like will it even get this with no prompt? Oh,
Oh.
weird. Oh, that looks
Oh,
cool.
because yeah, squid attacked by wait, sailboat attacked by squid underneath was the
Oh,
prompt. So if
I
you
know.
squid.
It's funny.
Oh, that looks cool. I love that.
Did you see the
That's
other one was like some random anime guy?
while I was changing the things. Oh, see,
See,
this
like
is
how cool is that?
that is where it
Like,
starts to become cool.
right. Like I feel like that is pretty that is pretty sweet.
Because then you could start doing things that are a little bit more like custom to the thing. You're like, I need it to do this, and like
Yeah, like
I need it to have this arm around this thing.
yeah, like I need it to sort of like be like this with this angle, and you're like, I can't really draw that. And see, what would be the badass thing is let's say you like uploaded, you're like, here's like 50 drawings that I already did of this kick-ass squid that I want you to
Mm.
emulate, but I need you to do it sort of like this with a ship in its hands, and then it would look like the ones that you had done before.
What's in painting?
That's just the same as like the
Oh,
Photoshop
switch.
stuff that will do that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I
Anyway,
mean, what is it with this? Is it like it's not in painting this though, right?
I guess not. Like I think what it's doing is it's almost like you know how in Midjourney where you could say here's an image, do it like this one, do a variation of this one. It's sort of doing a variation of whatever you put in. That was so weird.
No, I see what you're saying. I'm just trying to push it to like different levels of there's like little
Yeah.
things in the
Like
background.
like what does it do?
Yeah, like when you try new things. Like I'm trying to make a scene now.
So the one that I did is I did a snowman like holding a red balloon, and it was fun because it did not know what I was doing at first.
Sure.
It was like it thought it was like an anime lady in a long white dress. Like anyway, it was weird. And then I put snowman with a single red balloon, and then it was like great. And then it was neat to go through all the different styles and everything too. Like now try picking a few different styles from that.
All right, let's see. Yeah, wait, hold on a sec. I'm gonna take this blue little hat off. That one looks good. I like that one.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Anime?
It's like Splatoon.
I was gonna say if it makes cinematic, make it look like a freaking camera. I'm gonna.
Yeah, no.
That was hilarious. That first one was a camera.
Yeah.
Concept art. It definitely has these things that make it feel okay. Dynamic is the best for environment. Ooh,
Yeah.
I like it. I like the texture on that. Looks good.
But anyway, even for our project
that's
that
my- that's
we are
my
going
fa-
to talk about,
That's
like,
my favorite right now. That one's badass.
like-
How do I save this?
like how do I save this?
Yeah.
Anyway, I was thinking like this could be really helpful, right? Because you could be like, I kind of want, I know I want a broken like vessel with like goo coming out of it, and you could write that in there and you're like, yeah, but I need it to fit in like a space like this up in the corner. And so then you could sort of draw it like that, and then you just generate a bunch of them until you get it just right, and then you go, great. They don't have pixel art, unfortunately. Can you try changing it to pixel art?
Is it there?
I don't think it's a choice, but maybe you could put
Oh.
pixel art squid or something.
Nope.
No.
I mean, it made it like a video game.
Yeah.
8-bit.
But then, like, I was thinking even we could use other tools to like, I think there are other tools where you could say like, take this image and make it like a cool pixel art version of this.
I want to see what a squid donkey would look like. It's close.
Not very close. It's like a fish donkey or a fish donkey.
Oh, wait. What's the word?
A merbird.
A gibber.
Gibber.
Wait, let's just see what gibber brings us. I mean, that one's pretty damn hilarious. A squid donkey bird gibber. Come on now. We got to go for
no
this.
sense.
Bird is gibber. That's a gibber. All right, man. I love it. Thanks for showing me that. I think we could use this. No, this is a good one to play with. All right, what was the other one we were talking about?
And like all for free. Like those are all just free.
For right now, because they're in beta.
Sure.
So when you were talking about that, now I'm trying to remember because I had an AI that does some of this other work. I'm going to find that as we're going to the next one. All right, what are we doing next? What are we talking about next? That was fun. Are we ready to talk about the project? God,
oh my God.
We are on, just by the way, we're on excellent stream. We've been on that for a while. I don't want to jinx it,
Great.
but we're back down to 26%. If you were with us in the beginning, sorry for the shittiness. I'm just going to blame the coldness because it is really cold out there. I don't know if it's cold where you're at, Ryan, but it's like sub-zero temperatures.
It is 16 degrees right now, my clock says, outside. And I heard Sunday is supposed to be a high of 7.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, so with those cold temperatures, every time I do it, seemingly like it messes with my stuff. All my tech. Does it?
I can see that. Kylie, -10 wind chill on Monday.
Oh my gosh. I have to go to work on Monday. You have to go too? Terrible. I'm gonna chat back.
I work from home, Adam, so I never have to step outside. I don't think
I'd to punch you.
I
Just
think I've
kidding.
been outside today. I think I've been
Do you know
outside.
how much travel I've done this last year? It's funny. I would love to do like stats of like time I've been on the road, but you know what? With that work schedule with traveling, I adopted listening to like books and podcasts way more than I've ever done in my
Great.
life, and it's
Oh, that's great.
it's it's been good.
So I would suggest if you don't have it, you should get the Libby app. The Libby app is really great because it's your library. It's that you just put in your library
Oh yeah,
card
yeah.
and then you wait for things just like you would do a normal like
I
waiting
get
for stuff.
audiobooks for
Love it.
Spotify. Do you have Spotify?
No, I don't know. I
Like
don't
they
I
just
don't
did this thing where like they're like you have audiobooks now. I was like, "Oh, that's cool." And then every single time I needed a book, they've had it thus
They've had
far.
it.
Thus
Nice.
far. It's I've gone through 4 of them.
Ooh, you can get a digital checkout from Denver Library. That's awesome. I know there are some times where I have to wait like weeks to get a book though. But what's fun about that is like I'm not necessarily getting for books and needing to read them like instantly. So like I then it'll be like, 6 weeks later it'll pop up and I'll be like, oh, awesome. Like now I get to read that book or listen to that audiobook.
That's awesome. All right, Ryan, let's jump in. We got to talk about what the next thing is.
Woo!
It has been a year. So we didn't think we would be a project show. Like,
Yeah.
we just,
It didn't
we kind
start
of,
out necessarily as that.
but when we hang out, we always said this. Like, when we hang
Yeah.
out, we like, we get creative. We don't just get, like, we don't go drink and like pass out and everything. Like, we'll have a few drinks, but they're like, now, how could we change the world?
Well, yeah, exactly. Adam and I always have like a project going. It feels like, like we had Skull Bobs for a while, and that started as a video game that we wanted to do, and yeah, it was just like that. There's always a thing for us to be talking about it. That's what makes it exciting, and that's kind of, I mean, that's where when we were like, hey, let's do a board game, and we'll be able to like use these AI tools and we'll be able to like use our creativity and plan it out. Like what month was that? Do you know like when that started?
When we started the board game piece,
Board game, yeah.
board game was January. It was
Okay,
it was
so
it was a solid year. It was like it's this perfect.
it was 1 year ago that, yeah. So we started that because it was almost like to test sort of how could we use AI and do a project that like two people who maybe work on it 2 hours a week, like because we do a 3 hour show
Mm-hmm.
twice a month, and then probably in between that, like maybe a couple hours. Like, what could we do? And we basically did it all almost entirely on the show,
100. Yeah,
and
it was.
like a majority of it is on the show. Like a lot of it's sort of like the cleanup and the like planning of it and stuff happens offsite out of the show. But like what we really wanted to do is be like, oh man, I feel like we got hooked on that. I was like, that is so amazing. I love having to
Yeah.
like plan something and do something and actually have a physical, actual thing that turned out and before it at the end. And so we were like, hey, we want to do that again. I don't know if this is a year project or if it's, it might be less than that. But just to start out like what could be the next project. And we talked about it in a couple, for the last few streams at the end of the year, kind of teasing it. And like what were some of the do you remember some of the ideas? Like what was on the table?
So we were gonna do a huge art project that was interactive in some capacity,
Interactive, like in-person art project.
and we had. I could go look at the notes. We had actually a bunch of stuff. We wanted to do things. We wanted video games. That was one of them.
Yeah, create our own video game basically. Like at least like maybe a level or two within that time, maybe something retro.
We wanted to enter into like a fair something that we created. That was another
Yeah,
part of it.
like that was probably like a Raspberry Pi interactive chat, like pinging the internet and coming back with something type like project, like which we very closely looked at.
And I think there was a lot of other like little nuances on those pieces. Like, do we go this direction or do we go that direction? We do, and we wanted to go to the Comic-Con and set up
Yeah.
a booth and
We
try
wanted
to
to do-
stream, but
Yeah.
we found it was pretty restrictive on what and who they want to be in those.
Well, and
booths.
like how much power you could get, right? Or could you
Right.
get internet access? And then like also could you stream it at the time, So that one we got excited for that one, all the possibilities, and then came crashing back down to real life when we looked at the terms of
We
service
still
of Denver
applied
Comic
for
Con.
it.
We did.
We had to submit our website and everything. You know what I was thinking is if you go to our website now and you go to our like merch page, we don't really have like
We don't have
actual
merch.
merch. But you know what I was like the concept that I was having is that we don't necessarily need to have like merch you buy. Like the board game should be on our merch page.
Oh yeah,
And
totally.
then
Right? It just for free.
look at this kind of merch you could print for yourself.
What? Yeah, you're like download our like 3D print object files.
And you get your own
Dude,
merch. You
yeah,
get to
I
print
didn't
out your
wear this because it's cold out, but like look what I got for Christmas.
what? Nice, dude. That looks great.
The very first one, and my dad has one.
You gotta hire to print stuff. Yeah, this is the logo. Ryan got the logo. I would totally show you. Oh, you know what? Just because I want to show it off because I've left it on the freaking 3D printer for this. Is like I
Ooh,
printed
nice.
4 up of our logo the other day. It's
Nice.
very time intensive process to like do those layer splits because I'm ghetto with it right now. And what I mean by that is that there's specific ways where you can like program when those layer splits happen, but I've just had like it's not been really great when it reheats up and like does that layer split, so I do it
Right.
live. So I want to get a new 3D printer this year. That was another one of the projects of like doing more 3D printing projects. That was another.
More 3D printing project. I talked to a friend who like I've sort of reconnected with from elementary school when I lived in Washington, and I told him about this and the game that we were building, and he was like, "You 3D print? Like, what kind of printer do you have and everything?" Anyway, he was talking up the Bamboo X1 or something. He
That's
just
the
got it.
one. We're
That's the
going
one.
bamboo.
He literally just got it a little bit, and he was like, "That thing is awesome. Like, tell your friend if he's in the market for a new one, I can highly recommend that one."
Hell
So
yeah. No, and so here's the thing, and why we even bring that up is that it can print in multicolor and it can do some of those things. So
Oh.
look at all these projects. Like we started this show from kind of 3D printing, and now it's all in just like hanging out. But I'm really
Right.
super stoked about the project that we ended up landing on, and I think it's I mean, it's there's no reason to draw it out anymore. What are we doing, Ryan?
Right. Oh, that's true. Okay. So I think like what we decided on was something that we feel like is within our wheelhouse, right? Like something that we can that we know enough about.
I just want to say something before where you say it.
Sure.
They're like get the bamboo, get it. I'm
Just-
on it.
Like go buy it right now.
I am going. Which one is it again?
Or
What's it?
yeah, I don't know. I don't know if Vendetta Red is
Vendetta
is
Red. I was like
my
I wanted to
friend
say it
Ryan.
right. Yeah, Vendetta Red 311.
Is
Yeah,
it
tell me.
Vendetta Red 311.
Yeah. Is that the 311 the band?
I don't know.
I'm just throwing it out there.
Oh, sure. Asking. Okay. So we were like, all right, what can we do that like not only pushes what we were doing before, right? But also is somewhat in our wheelhouse, but is like a bigger kind of project. And Adam started, you know, we've been playing retro games and everything like that. I have a Mister, Adam has a Retron, and he was basically, you know, you were playing Metroid Fusion, and you were like, "Oh, nice, Ned Red, good to see you," or see the chat. So we were like, all right, what are we going to do? What are we going to do that like could be in that? And Adam's been playing Metroid Fusion. And so, and he, you know, Adam has experience. Like he built a Game Boy game in, or at least part of a level, like a level in the Game Boy platform. And so we were like, all right, what if we tried to build like a single level in something like a Game Boy Advance style game, like in the style of something like Metroid Fusion, in a Metroidvania, which I, you know, that's like a genre of game is Metroidvania, which is basically just a combination of Metroid and Castlevania crammed together because those are so similar, those types of games. So it's a Metroidvania game, and we could build like a level that has like a boss at the end and come up with what the storyline is and use large language models
This
and
is gonna be
use
so
these like
awesome.
these AI tools to build something that like Adam and I working on it so little, like we would never be able to build or do without like the help of those types of tools, right? To like build all the artwork that goes behind it. And so I was just like, we'll put it out. Well, I feel like we just put it out for free, right? Like again, just like the AI board game, like, and we just say like, hey, so then we don't have to worry about copyright or we don't have to worry about pissing anyone off. We weren't going to pay anyone for this, anyway. And so the idea that we like build one of these games feels like such a extension of what we were doing before, which I feel like will be fun because man, we're gonna have to think about music and sound effects and interactivity
Ooh, I didn't
and
even think. I
animation.
didn't think about all that stuff.
Like we're gonna have to think about like not only creating a character, but like creating that same character in lots of different scenes, right? Because we'll
Right.
need to animate the sprites basically so that it looks like they're running or it looks like they're shooting or jumping or all of those and all the enemies. Like, so I feel like it's going to be one of those things where we're going to use the same type of skills and tools that we were AI tools that we were using before, but we're gonna have to take it even further with probably like generated animations that we create and then making those into pixel art, or how do we create pixel art in AI, which I have found to be very hard. So it feels like
Oh
that would
man.
be like a
I want
fun
to talk about this,
long
Ryan. Like,
project.
all right, so
Yes.
so this was the challenge, is like,
Yeah.
and that's a perfect introduction, and that's like so I feel like there's a quick context that we need to throw, and you kind of glossed over it a bit, but I wanted to say is that when Ryan and I first got out of college and started to like do things, we were like, let's do something. This is our
Yeah.
chance. Let's go. And not necessarily a chance to like go do some crazy big thing, but just to work together to make something fun and have fun. And that creativity just like goes inside of us. And we talked about Skull Bobs, and Skull Bobs was the game we wanted to make years ago, right?
Years ago.
And
There was an animation of it. We played it on the show
well,
before.
and the reason we went from Skull Bob's the video game to the animation is we just didn't have the capability to do it. We had some
There was
like
there was not tools.
there was not tools, there was
Like
not, and
there.
like we found some folks that were able to help us, but they were still learning, so we just couldn't take it to
Yep.
completion. And so what we like to do is stretch ourselves. I
Yeah.
I like to say, I don't know how the hell we're gonna do this, but we're gonna make it happen. I love that we were like, I remember the first day talking about the board game, like, oh my god, this is gonna be impossible, and we did it. So we're gonna do it. We're gonna
Yeah.
do a video game, and we're gonna try to use AI to help us. One of the things that I think we took away though was that AI isn't gonna do it for us. It's gonna be a tool, and it's gonna
Yes.
help us get it to that other side, and we're going to help you see how we kind of like have the creative process, how we go through some of that, and how we're utilizing AI to do things that we typically couldn't do on our own. And I think that's the takeaway that you should have, is that AI is definitely something we should fear. It's the end of humanity in certain cases.
Of course.
But on other side, it can do these other great things, and if you don't know how to use it, this is the show to hang out with and help. This isn't an
Yeah.
Adam and Ryan thing. All you all out there have this opportunity to help and do this. Light Snake, that was a chat enemy, and it made it all the way to the board game. So come on now.
Man, like a million things came from chat from the board game, of helping out, of like being there and just giving suggestions about stuff. Like the board game was 1,000 times better because of the suggestions that we got from
Because it's
the
chat,
audience. It was
because
amazing.
because of you. So so hanging out with everyone and getting those insights as we go around. The idea here is you're usually here because you're creative, you like to hang out, you like to talk about tech and all these other kind of fun things, and just then just hang out with us as we go on these different journeys together. And so this is that next step with that. The reason that I think like Game Boy esque is part a little of me. Did you have a Game Boy when you're growing up, Ryan?
So I did. I won my Game Boy.
Hell yeah, that's sweet.
I was at a bowling. I was at a bowling.
That was
I,
probably
I was
awesome moment.
I was a bowling. I was on a bowling league for many years as a child, and they would always have like color pin bowling
Yeah, yeah.
parties at the end of the year. And so, if the pins came down and you had a colored pin on there and you knocked it down, you would get a little ticket and you could put that into the different prizes. And I was moving. This was when I was moving from Washington State to Colorado, and it was my very last time I was gonna bowl with all the people and everything. And I think the main and they knew I was leaving and they knew it. So they had all these prizes up and they knew that I had put a bunch of tickets into the Game Boy one. And I literally think the lady at the bowling alley just like pulled out a ticket and whatever it said, she was like, Ryan won, because it
That's
wasn't like the numbers.
awesome.
She was like, Ryan Higley won. And so then I won the Game Boy. And I like afterwards, I was like, years later, I was like, I bet I didn't win that. Like,
Well, that's good. You made an impression on somebody to get you that
yeah.
Game Boy. So here's the thing: we're in our 40s. We're like, guess getting older, and this is the moment where like that's nostalgia for me. Game Boy was the system that I had. My parents wouldn't let me watch TV, ever have any system. And a Game Boy, I bought it with my own money, played Tetris for over a year as the only game I had because I couldn't afford another game, and then started doing that. And so there is such a nostalgic memory of like being in a car ride, driving and trying to get the lights to come into the window so you could see the game as you're going
Right,
down
it
on
wasn't
trips.
backlit
Because
like
it
enough,
wasn't backlit. Or I had the ghetto Game Boy that I had to like shove on it, or the Light
The
Boy as
light.
it will. And so you shove the Light Boy on, and like then you had to have like 8 batteries, 4 to run the light, 4 to run the Game Boy, and it was heavy, and you're a little like kid. But God, I remember like driving through Yellowstone and looking at that. I want to recreate those moments. I want to be in that little pixelated world that I always felt was much bigger than that little screen. Like, so when I was in exploring a world, like my imagination thought of how big it was as you go through it. And I love the idea
Nice.
that like every pixel you could maybe shoot that little wall out and there's going to be a little treat behind there. And I love the idea of making a puzzle level, game, boss kind of level that's not just one way, but you can kind of explore it and there's some puzzle to it too. So that's my passion. I don't want to like throw that on you, Ryan, but that's one of the reasons that I want to do it is that I like the idea that we can make something handheld, tell a cool story with like
Yeah.
these retro style nerdy tools that we would want, and then I'm gonna play the shit out of it. This game that I would make, I'm gonna play it. Like I want to make something I want to play. I'm telling
Yeah,
you.
exactly. That's what I feel like is like I want to make something that I would actually want to play because the board game ended up being a game that I would actually want to play, and so it's like the same. I also love the idea of you driving through a beautiful national state park and you being like, the thing that I remember is me not looking out the window at any of that garbage and playing my sweet Game Boy.
Hell
as the lights
yeah.
went by.
Hell yeah. Well, and so that's it. We're going Game Boy style. We're going not Game Boy game, but get like a style of like a handheld-esque or NES, Super NES game. We're gonna have to come up with platform. We're gonna have to come up with strategy. There's so
Like, what is the
much
theme?
we're
What
gonna
is
do.
like? Yeah, 'cause I got. There's a bunch of there's a bunch of like. Yeah, what? How do we even build it? Like, what are the tools we're going to use? Like, yeah,
So that's awesome. We're starting with
yeah.
nothing, and you're here with the journey. So if you're here tonight, you're hearing it first.
You
And
came. You got here first.
we're gonna take this moment in 2024 of December when we're like, "Gah, that game was crazy. Oh my god, I hate
When it's
this."
taken over our lives and we've both gotten fired because we've dedicated too much time to the Game Boy Advance game we're building.
No, I think it's really going to give us this opportunity to stretch ourselves and just some of our creative spirit and the things that we want to do. It goes back to that idea of Skull Bobs. So with that, before the show, we wanted to take this show as a little bit more opened, a little bit more Hangout-esque, but we
Yeah.
also wanted to approach it with an idea in mind of let's take in some of the skill sets that we have from our individual careers and not necessarily overwork this. If this feels like work and it doesn't feel like a hangout, this ain't
Sure.
going to be fun. But
Yeah.
we can give a little structure to this so that it's not so chaotic. I think when we did the board game, the first couple like hours of the sessions we did, it was like so open. It was really hard to like narrow in to where we were
Yeah.
wanting to go. So Kylea, I really appreciate you saying it sounds super fun because we think so too.
Love that positivity.
And what, like, if there was a person that I would love to hear feedback from, is like someone like yourself to start to let us know, like, hey, there's this game I played when I was,
Oh
had
yeah.
this system or this. And like, if you had these moments, not necessarily even just the game itself, but the moments that you remember that were meaningful for you in time, like, I want to hear that. And I would say, like, Ryan, do you have a moment like that you can have that comes to mind? Like the fact of me going in the car and like playing the game was one of them. And if you don't mind, I'll share just a quick one.
Totally.
So I think you knew when I was younger, I had, I told you with the whole Game Boy experience, I had Tetris for a year. Tetris is still my favorite game. I actually even have it tattooed on me. There's a little Game Boy tattooed
Nice.
on my arm right there with Tetris on it. So, I mean, I love Game Boys, let me tell you.
Amazing.
So I had traveled to Europe and I brought my Game Boy to Europe, and I had been going around and doing this thing, but I never seemed to have enough money when I was a kid. Of course, like you never do.
Sure.
And I remember going to some like little like shop in England. I was in England at the time, and I found Metroid, like the original Metroid cartridge, and I bought it. And like, and I remember playing it, and that game blew my mind because it was able to, like, you were able to go through the world, but you still can explore. It was like, it felt open world. And the idea that you had this like world in your hands was a concept to me that I hadn't played with before, because everything was very much just like shapes falling game, like little mini games almost. And this felt like the story was unfolding, and then you could put your like imagination into it. So when I bought it in Europe, on the way back home on the plane, I played it. And it was such an amazing experience. I remember like beating the game and like going through the hallways, because you don't do anything. You get bored for a second, or you get stuck and you kind of turn it off, and you're like, what the hell else am I going to do? Turn it back on and start playing again. So I just remember like grinding and trying to solve it, having no puzzle books or anything. And like there's things I missed, and it's like, why did I not know that? So I just like, that is imprinted on my brain, this like plane ride back to America, playing this like sweet Metroid game that I got in Europe. So
what isn't there, like, are there like PAL and NTSC versions?
Totally thought of that
stuff?
too. Like I thought that was gonna be like whatever it was, but whatever shop that I got it from, I bought it and I was like, all right, fine. Even if this is just like a cool little memento of this trip, I'm going to do it. And when I put it in, I was like all nervous. Whatever version it was or whatever serendipity happened, it worked. It absolutely worked.
See, that's awesome. That's awesome. I know, like, as a kid, the Super Nintendo was sort of my very first. We had an Atari. And then a Super Nintendo was my very first kind of like, console of things. But like I do buy over quarantine and COVID. I did buy a Mr. FPGA, and so like that has been very cool to go back and like revisit like all of these like games that like I played, but then like my dad and I would play Rampage and stuff for the Atari and see how far we could get. Like I remember going over to Vendetta Red's house and playing like Super Nintendo and Nintendo games at his house. I do like, speaking of story games, I feel like a big one was Zelda for me always. Like I was always a big Nintendo kid, and so playing through Zelda, and even like some of the later ones, like when we were in high school and college and stuff like that, was always great. I like video games. Video games have been a big huge part of like connecting with my brother and everything still, like, and kicking his butt as a kid, and then him turning 11 and then kicking my butt for the rest of my life. And but yeah, and also like I've always been interested in like the building of video games, and like the like the storytelling, and the even just like the platforms and everything behind video games has always been like, the video game like industry has always interested me a lot. And so it like I've always wanted to build a video game, and like you said, like we wanted to, and there was literally just like the tools were not there for two people who didn't know anything about building video games to like go in and build stuff. And now, like, how many years is that? Like 15 years later or 20 years
Shoot,
later?
don't
And
say
like,
that,
oh
Ryan. Oh
God.
God.
Hey, you just said we were 40. People know how,
Oh
how
my
long after
God.
college that would be. But like now, like I have a list here of um basically like platforms that you could build this type of video game on that are either free or like really inexpensive licenses to work on. And it's amazing. Like I'm excited. I'm excited for that. And just to also like kind of have a larger project that I feel like I said before the stream, like is going to need more
Oop.
structure and more like brainstorming and all of that amazing like storyboard creating and laying out all the levels on a gigantic like board or something, just to figure it out. It and like I love like people who are like Golden Sun and Bomber MX like suggesting games for us to play. I feel like we're gonna have to have like some kind of uh like reintroduction to a lot of those games so that we're not like, I don't know, mimicking the exact same things and saying that it was brand new, or just knowing what we're
Well, it's going to be
like
eclectic. I think
emulating.
what we create is eclectic, is what you're getting at, and like
Yeah.
we want to get like some of those hot like moments that are those things. And it was 14 years, Ryan. It was only 14 years.
It was only
wasn't
14
It wasn't
years.
15.
Okay.
You were getting me a little nervous there. So I chucked in Skull Bobs. If you want to check the teaser trailer, because this
Yeah.
might be the theme that we start to roll with. We've been kind of like talking about that.
So I think that is like a huge part of the discussion of this is like what is the theme, what is the storyline that we're trying to do, like what would be interesting, what would also be maybe like also like I would like it to be, I would love it for people to want to try it and play it, right? Like even like outside of the community that we built for Double Drop Down, like it would be cool if it went further than that and more people could try it and play it. Like I mean, that's the part of growing the channel and doing all of that is kind of like growing it outside. So I think that's a full discussion that we need to have on stream. I imagine like that. What what we're going to do? Are we going to do our own IP, or are we going to like borrow someone else's IP and do something like off of that?
So perfect transition point. It's 9:30. This is usually a couple hour show. So I think we have like another hour or an hour and a half ish that I think we need to start that conversation. That's where we're at right now. Let's start with, with this. And so I think one of the things we discussed as we started this is how much structure do we attack this with? And so we're going to try some stuff. If it doesn't work out, that's fine. We'll pivot as we go. Ryan and I are good at just jumping face first or feet first or however you want to say that into some of these projects.
Face first into something.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm trying to think when that would be awesome to jump face first. I could think some. I'm just gonna keep going.
Like into like a pie.
Yeah, like into a swimming pool because you're diving.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
There you go.
That would still probably hurt.
Yeah, it would. So when we started, I'm just gonna go back to the board game so we can kind of like reprise like how that had gone, and then do a little bit of baselining so you can understand what that looked like. Is that about? This happens every single time before the show. Ryan and I connect. We have some conversation. We collect a lot of the thoughts that we've been pulling through that week, and we then just put it in a little bit more order so that we have a good structure, so we know at least where we're gonna go with you. This like we put some work into this. We really want to make sure that like it's a hangout that everyone enjoys, and we have enough that we can spread it around what's happening lately, so we can make this work. 5 minutes before the show in January, we were like, we should do something. Like, let's test.
We need something to project.
Let's push AI. And we were like, all right, let's do a board game. And like we both came up with this concept. Let's push a board game. And we're like, all right, we're behind it. And I think at this point we didn't even know ChatGPT. This was, I think, my introduction to ChatGPT to Ryan or around that time. And so we used ChatGPT to come up with some of our help. We use it as an assistant. And so what I think we could probably do is we could start with some ChatGPT to help with some of the concepting, or at least some of the high level stuff to help us through it. We can pull in some of the concepts that you already collected this week, some of the insights that I was able to pull in, and then I think what we need to do is come up with almost like a I don't want to go into the work terms, but like a project plan. Like start
Sure.
to put out a little bit of an outline, and we got a cool tool that we're gonna maybe use tonight, so you can start to see some of the tools we pull into it, and we'll talk about it as we go. I think we're both gonna
Well,
learn this tool on the fly if we use it.
sure,
It'll
sure.
be great.
Well, and you know what I like about this too is like this is what we do a lot in our jobs, right? Is like there's an idea for a thing and you're like, okay, it has these parameters around it. It has this much sort of time allotment that you have. It has this, budget. I mean, we don't necessarily have a budget, but like a time budget, right? And so you're like, okay, what could you make within that time that is like cool and interesting and uses the whatever whatever skill sets that we have and resources that we can pull from and like build that into an actual project. It feels like that's what we do all the time, but I don't usually it doesn't end with a sweet Game Boy Advance game. If I had
Yeah.
which is makes this even better.
So here's one thing I'm going to start with is before we get into the design is I did go and play on some GB Studio games. And there was a game, and I'm hoping I didn't delete the damn thing because I'm trying to see if I can find it on here. Did I put it in a comment? Let's see when the last time that you put it in a comment on that. No, not on that one. So I found some games, and this is what was really like attractive to me about building like a Game Boy game. Was that there was this game that's Game Boy compatible, but then if you bring it up on your phone, it brings up the controls and you can play it on your phone like your phone is the Game Boy. Like you don't need to get an emulator or do any of that stuff. You literally just pick it up and you play the damn game right there, and it's awesome.
I mean, I feel like what platform are we putting it out on is a question that we need to answer. It's almost like right now, if I feel like there's just like we should write down like here are the million different questions that we need to answer. What is the theme? What platform are we going to do it on? Like how are we going to distribute it? How are we gonna do the music and the sound effects for it? Who is like what is the scope of it? Like are we doing a Metroidvania? Have we landed on that as like the theme of the game, like that kind of stuff?
So let me help us baseline at least something that I found. So let me show you this. I'm gonna transition to this other like screen that we got here, and one of the things that I found on it was Skull Bob's Aliens Breweries make for an exciting game. I gotta agree with H.E. Higley on that one. I mean,
Higley wanted to see Skull Bob's.
I think I am really down about our own IPO or IP or whatever we want to call that. But here is a game built on GB Studio 2020.
Yeah. So explain what GB Studio is a little bit.
Good thing. Maybe well, you know what? Let me do this first. Let me show the game. And then we'll go see what GB Studio is. And so here's what I love about this. The back end of what makes this game that I'm about to show you interesting is it was made in GB Studio. And I think GB Studio might be where we start. It may not be where we end by December this year or whenever we end up ending this. But maybe this is where we start just to get some concepts down. And here's a cool thing. So GB Studio, you can play it on a Game Boy. I can load it on a cartridge. I have cartridges that I've loaded my own Game Boy games and played on an original Game Boy console. Like I absolutely had the handheld thing. And so with this game, made for Game Boy Studio, I'm just gonna chuck it in the chat right now because then that way you have it. So here you are. If you want to check out the game we are about to play, it's called Rising Pines, and you can play it right in the browser. Christmas 2020, this thing came out. Oh God, very loud. Okay, so in this particular game, let's see here. What is start? What is the start button for GB Studio? All right, let's see here. Let me click on this one. Start, jump. All right. I wasn't able to figure out what the start button is. Let's go see if there's any controls. Here they are at the bottom.
Thought I was gonna sneeze. Ugh.
In HUD drops. Okay. Controls. A. B. Wait, that's weird. Okay.
We're only seeing you, Adam. We're seeing W.
Oh, you are seeing me. Do you know what happened? Is I was trying to do the game, and then I clicked all these buttons, and I think it moved a bunch of shit on the screen. So I found this game. You can play it in the browser. It looks like, okay, help me out with this. So Z, X, Enter, Shift. Okay, here we go. It's going to be loud for a second, too. There we go. New game. So in this game, you were a pine tree.
Okay.
And you're running around. There's like, you get a whip at some point. I don't know where you do that. So this is made on GB Studio. You're a little pine.
Yeah, it looks like a Game Boy game. I mean, with color, like a Game Boy Color, I guess, right?
It's really loud too. I don't know about for you, but it's loud for me.
I can't hear it really.
All right, let me get through this part. So this, number one, has a story. So if you want to read through the story, you can go that. You're basically a pine tree, and you're going to try to navigate your way through here. All right. Yeah, for whatever reason, I can't adjust. Okay, so you have a whip, and you can run around with your pine tree. Yeah, let's whip things.
Nice.
Oh.
Yeah, and it's like pretty simple background, right? Like
Simple background.
One sort of layer.
You can jump, like go back.
Yeah, it's not like it's going screen to screen. It's like a little platformer here.
Oh shoot! It's funny when you go in the hole, you don't die. You just get stuck. Slap that cat. Slapped it.
Can you jump on top of enemies?
No, you have to.
But it doesn't do anything.
You have to whip it with your sweet whip.
Why is it a tree that's whipping things? I guess we didn't pay attention to the story.
It's something about pines. It's like a Christmas story.
Like an environmental stuff.
So the reason I was gonna show that, I'm gonna escape and I'm gonna stop that because it's really loud for me right now. Okay, that game itself, and one of the things I loved about it, and I'm just gonna start there, is that it was cool. Yeah, whip it good.
Interesting.
That was made in GB Studio.
Yeah.
GB Studio is a free thing. So just a quick history, and I said I would talk about it right after that, is so GB Studio, if you're not familiar with like game jams or hackathons or any of that kind of stuff, the idea is that there are these competitions where people show up, they come up with a concept, they try to make a program, they do something, they do it really quick, and over the course of maybe 3 days or a weekend, they compete. Who wins? You get a prize, or you get something out of it, and you're like, yeah, that's awesome. You're really kick-ass in the industry. The guy that made, or the gals, or the whoever made GB Studio did that at a game jam. They made GB Studio as a game jam kind of thing. They're like, oh,
Cool.
It would be cool to make like a Game Boy game maker. And then after the jam, they were like, that thing's pretty freaking awesome.
Yeah, like it turned out sweet.
You should like not stop making that. You should
Did
do
they
that.
win? Did they win the game jam?
Oh yeah, hell yeah, they did.
I assume.
And okay,
yeah.
I'm making up history here because I don't know. Maybe they probably didn't. They could have. They but I think they did. And so it's at version 3.0. People love it. It's an amazing platform for you to be able to approach building a game. So that's my first entry into the potential of platforms because you can bring all the assets in. You can do all of the sound design. You can do everything in that platform to create a game.
And free. How would we
Free.
distribute it?
There is itch.io. I'm gonna go there.
itch.io.
Have you been to
'Cause
itch.io?
Yep. So itch.io, that's like a indie game platform, right?
If you've not been here, here's itch.io, just so you have a little bit of familiarity with it. So there is a huge thing. People are making Game Boy games all the time. I gotta say it, or other types of games that are out here, and this is where you can get it. So itch.io, if you're into like crazy amount of gaming that you want to just try, like people making their own stuff, go check out itch.io. Kylea, if you, have you been here? Are you familiar with this
I mean,
platform
because
or any of it?
Kylea does a whole bunch of indie games.
Hell yeah. This platform you can live on. This is the kind of stuff I love because it doesn't feel so mainstream. There's so many fun things at it. It's really good stuff.
Okay, do you want to hear my first
Let's go.
thing
Where's you at?
into throwing down on the platform table?
Yeah, let's go for it. What's the next
Okay,
platform?
go to G Develop.
All right, I'm pulling G develop out.
Now I pulled these a while ago, so I don't remember them exactly. But here's the note that I have written down about G Develop: a free, easy to use app for making 8-bit and pixel art games. GD Develop has a unique event system that makes it easy to create any 2D game.
All right, I'm
And
here
it's free.
for game creators and indies. All right, let's see what they're. Oh, there's pricing. What is their pricing here, Ryan?
Yeah, so maybe to like
Work and save in cloud, export to mobile, full.
so I don't know,
Mobile
I
app
don't know anything
access.
about any of these. Obviously did some research about this,
I want to play
in
a game.
October.
Can we play a game on this? GD.games.
Yeah, so I don't know like how you would like release this or
They have a platform here.
yeah, but like it's almost so like that's part of it too. Like I imagine you want to put it on Steam, right? Like in the end, it feels like you would want to put it on Steam if you wanted anyone to play.
Can you give it for free in Steam?
Yeah,
Look at this game. Let's play it.
we'll just like put it in alpha or something.
Steamboat Willie game.
Steamboat Willie game, of
Hell
course.
yeah. Let's
I
go
heard
Steam.
they're still like litigating. Did you hear that? Like they're still
Nah.
taking down videos and things like that. Of
That was
Steamboat
it
Willie
was
stuff?
rumor stuff. It was like technology not keeping up with like copyright, so it's like
Oh,
it was
so
like
it
an
was
auto
just
takedown.
automatically pulling it.
Yeah. Oh no,
yeah.
not Mickey. Wasn't he like? I don't know.
There was like a horror movie that was announced like on January 2nd.
oh, about Steamboat.
Yeah, like you could tell they had been working on it all year, right? And then like the moment
That
it
was-
becomes
that was
thing,
smart.
they're like, it's out.
All right, I want to see a game in this platform, Ryan. You got to convince me. All right, so what am I doing here? Use the shovel to find and retrieve the treasure.
You should try to find a game that would be like the game that we're going to build. Though,
Like
right?
this sweet game, Ryan, where
Like,
I'm going
just
like 2 miles
search
an
for
hour.
search for Metroidvania.
It's a Minecraft. Okay, this is terrible. I'm searching for. Wait, how do I use my shovel? Oh, I shot a.
Oh, nice. Oh, it's like
Yeah, you dumb boy. Oh shoot, he's shooting me. No.
Oh, I wanted you to be like sinking.
These game developers, when they made their AI game last year, did not think of that animation, right?
Did not know.
She said out of both
Try-
of them.
Try like a
All right,
non 3D game.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Like, okay, because they did say two. So which one would it be? This one?
Can you search? Can you search for just like a genre of game?
Yeah, let's see here. It says games at the top. There's got to be a filter on this. Maybe not. These are like the coolest games.
But
This,
try like
Ball
yeah,
Chill.
one.
This looks
that
like
one
Angry
looks like
Birds.
at least. Or I was gonna say
Twin stick
looks like-
shooter with rogue for her. Stranded on a raft. Okay.
do you remember Alien Hominid?
Yeah. Do you know
Or
what?
Castle
Hey,
Crashers.
Did you know Alien Hominid came out on Game Boy Advanced?
What?
I have, or
Nice.
okay, maybe it didn't, but I played it on Game Boy Advance. Like I have a ROM on my phone. I was like, what? No way that came out on that. It was cool. I was played Doom and Wolfenstein this last couple weeks on my phone.
Oh, see, those are fun.
You know, the funny thing is, like, I really only ever stream my gaming because just like to hang out with people when I do that. But I've actually been playing a lot of the Game Boy games off stream just on my phone. There's
Alien Hominid came out for the Game Boy Advance in November 21st, 2004.
It did. Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, that was sweet. I played it. All right, so this looks like almost like a GB Studio game.
Okay.
But it's not. It's like he's using. Okay, it just must be using. Let's see what this looks like.
This is like top down, right?
Is it? Is that what this is? I just want to see something more pixelated here. Made with G develop. See, that would be my concern is that you're like stuck in with the platform of launching it on that. So like GB Studio, it allows you to launch the game in a format that's called a .gb is the format of it, and you can load it in any ROM software that plays Game
Well,
Boy games.
I feel like we have to pick a
How do I hit
thing
start?
that will allow us to release it on Steam. I feel like if you can't release it on Steam, no one is ever going to play it.
Well, there's huge other markets. I don't know. I think that's a lofty goal to go all the way to Steam.
But like they release so many games on Steam, like it's not. I don't feel like it's as
Okay, so this is like
as hard as it used to be.
cut this tree down, guy. It's like a mute. Okay. Northburg. Okay, this I'm gonna escape out. I'm down with that one. I mean, it looks cool, but I don't know what the hell's going on. I want to just like run to the side or run around. There's not a search. There's not a search on this, Ryan.
Is there? Can we just like Google G? Oh, well, okay. So let's look at a different one.
All right, let's go next one.
Okay, so next one I have is Click Team Fusion 2.5.
Click Team Fusion.
Yep.
Oh my god, that seems like.
Now the next one that I have is I feel like the actual one if we wanted to legit do games.
Click Team Fusion. This looks like a little old school web style. That's all right.
This says a good framework for building 2D games that can be made to look 8-bit.
That can be made to look 8-bit. Interesting.
Yeah. So it's like I imagine it's sort of, almost like what, like Flash, right? Style.
That's so deprecated. I
don't know.
We gotta get.
All I did was like I was Googling
Pushing
places
it
of like
free,
if
try
I
it,
want to
yeah.
make this type of game, what platforms are there? Okay, so try this one. Do Godot, Godot.
Oh yeah, this is like the killer of
This is
Unreal.
yeah.
Or not Unreal, but yeah.
So this is the free one, right? This is the open source. This is the oh god, like what's the Photoshop? What's its free Photoshop equivalent?
GIMP.
GIMP, yeah, right. This is the GIMP version of it. And people make a ton of cool games using Godot, I think.
Yeah, it's the open source version. So here's the thing, Ryan, and I'm just gonna throw it out there because I do know enough about engines and how this all works, just to give you the perspective. Is that if you go this route, it's gonna be way more code intensive and a lot of little details that you're gonna have to look at this.
Yeah, well, and that's one of the things that I just like didn't know how far, like I don't know how plug and play, like drag and drop these systems are, like for us to be able to just say like I want this sort of genre and then let me, change settings in it, or if it's like straight up coding in the entire thing. I don't know.
These ones absolutely are, and here's the reason why. Is I actually was looking at this like a couple years ago when we were thinking about some other things, and I'm not saying this is not the platform. So Godot right now is, I think, the other one everyone's saying like screw Unity because they're gonna do all this other crap. So everyone go to Godot because this was the up and comer in terms of game development. And so if there was this platform that I think you're right. I think Godot would be one that we'd want to do. So here's the thing: is we'd have to learn it a little bit. Let me pull out just to show you GB Studio because we talked about it, and I want to just so what I think we need to do is we're not going to make a decision exactly what platform we're going to use tonight.
Totally.
But what we should do is we should test a couple of them, see how approachable and how learnable it is with this. Because I already have GB Studio, it doesn't work like GB Studio. GB Studio is like a GUI that makes it easy to make games. And so let me just grab. There's two types. There's a sample. So there's a Game Boy Color or Game Boy. And so Game Boy Advance, the one Metroid Fusion we just looked at, it's beyond what this thing can do. Okay?
Sure.
So Godot would probably be the right one for a Game Boy Advanced style game that you're talking about.
Like you would have to do it in sort of that kind of platformer or the top-down, like original Zelda.
So my pitch is, why don't we concept a little bit of it out in a GB Studio, take it through for another month or so, see what we can come up with, like, because the platform makes it so easy that, like, when you see how this works in just a second, you're gonna be like, yeah, that, I mean, like, it's approachable. And then see if we can kind of like grow that skill and like see how we can adapt it to it, maybe another program, because I think you're right. I think we're gonna have to use a Godot or some other kind of platform to really like get this out.
And I was definitely thinking like it could be sort of the storyboard almost, right, to the larger project that you would build. Because then the only thing that I would say is bad about um well, I don't know, I don't know the extent of how you can use GB like Studio
Yeah.
for what we were planning on, what how we were hoping to do it with, like, the Castlevania menu and things like that. I don't even
Think
so
it's totally doable as the thing. And
cool.
so I think that if we really want to do something approachable,
Yeah.
this might be the platform. And so, because it does have enough of the code in there that you can do some of this work. So what they have is a sample game, so you can kind of see what this looks like. And so if you're ever interested in like, what the heck does it look like in certain games? I'm not like, not all games are like this, but this one visualizes some of those games, or at least the concepts behind what this looks like. And so, for instance, what you'll have, and I'm going to use this as an example, is and I played with it enough because I thought I would build a game at some point in this platform. Is it's like a canvas, just like the things that we've looked at before. And so the canvas itself is the different screens that you hit within the game. And so imagine us going in here and saying like, all right, here are all those different levels or different ways that you navigate. And look at this. So like your logo starts in this first screen, and then you have this like thing that links it to say, hey, after the logo plays, go to the title screen. And then off to the right hand side, there's all this context. This is not easy, Ryan.
Yeah, right.
But
Yeah, exactly. That's what always scares me about all of that, is like even the simple one is hard to like do and figure out.
And so with this one, that's what I was gonna say. Let's give some time in it, so you can see that if I wanted to go in here and like change what this says, my logo is, okay. Let's say we're gonna start a game and we were gonna use this framework that we had in place. I click on this picture and I go over to the right hand side and look. It's like, okay, we'll pick your background. What do you want your background to be? We would load up or go create AI, and it looks like it's a 20 by 18 pixelated art of the logo. And you
What
go and you
it's
pick that.
20 pixels. It's 20 pixels by 18 pixels. That can't be right.
That's what it's showing. Saying 20
But
by
that's
18.
like, this is what is the
Or 20 by
do you know
18 perspective.
what
Yeah.
like the amount of pixels on just the entire screen are?
I don't remember, but I know it is. There is some very specific amounts. Let's see here. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, because we would need to know that for like the sprites that we're uploading. And
There's all kinds of things. Like if we go this route, there's like lots of constraints. So you can only have certain amount of designs and stuff on this kind of a page. But what I wanted to get,
right.
yeah, you have to
Yeah.
think of memory.
Do you have to, because like it shouldn't, now it doesn't matter, right, what like,
Right.
but it's is it saying like, oh, because you want to be able to like put it on a Game Boy cartridge, so it
Yeah.
like keeps that.
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
limited. You're limited. If we go this route, it makes you do some creative design. So it's gonna take you back to that Yellowstone day
right,
driving in the car. So there
totally.
is some nostalgia on this. So there is a gentleman that I have in my Discord that does a lot of this design to this day. In regard to like setting things up. And so I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna pull up his Discord just because I think it's kind of cool. His name is Robert Doman. So what I'm doing right now is I'm compiling this game. So we're gonna look at that in just a second. But I want to go to this guy's YouTube account because I wanted to show you this, Ryan, and see what you thought. Because I'm also thinking of the community that we can connect into and figure
Right,
out, like,
that's true.
is there a way that we may be able to reach out to this guy and he can help us out, and or even not even help us, but just like be somebody we can touch base about. So Robert Doman has this YouTube channel that has a bunch of different things, and he makes Game Boy games all in GB Studio. talks about how you use GB Studio, lots of
Nice.
insights of like how you can think about AI character design, not necessarily the AI that we're talking about, but how do you build in AI inside of a sprite or something in there, and then you can
Right. So
figure.
enemies chase you or something, or
Absolutely. And he was very like empowering on the concept of you could go and do this. You have the ability to make this happen. And so I watched a
mm-hmm.
lot of his stuff. And so I just wanted to call out that there's like some resources. There's community out there that has people that are creating games to this day. And they have some really good like insight as to why you might want to consider building a Game Boy game over something else. And so maybe it's like a retro version of this. So that's my pitch. I'm really pitching hard on this, but that was like one of the areas I wanted to kind of call out.
Well, you're making a compelling pitch, because I came in here being like, the game that you showed me of doing that, I was like, boo, I don't want it to look that bad. I want it to look better than that. And we're going to be able to like generate imagery that could like rival some of that Game Boy Advance type games. And so I was like, oh, do I have to like the vision of what I want is going to be lesser than if we go to a Game Boy style.
Yeah.
But then I was thinking about it, and I was like you were explaining it, and I was like, God, but do I want to wrestle with the tools like more than I'm already going to have to wrestle with the tools, like even in a simple program?
Right.
Like, no, if I go into Godot, like, I mean, that's like a dedicated amount of time that you would have to spend even to just understand how you would start probably in those platforms. So it's like, of all the like, and I would even want to do more research for like, how, are there more drag and drop, like style things out there, and maybe there are, but
Well,
I was like, it could be something interesting that like sometimes the amount of constraints helps you like focus your attention, as opposed to having it just like the world is your oyster, right?
well, and you're nailing it, Ryan. Is that I think that I like the idea that we show up for this hangout and we're like, let's get to work and have some cool things that happen. Like you'll notice
Right.
off on this right hand side, you're like having it point the direction. We're point it like it's easily approachable enough that we can go in and do the things. And like if you want to layer this out, if you want to build a video game, and thankfully I've had enough experience, and I think you've started that research, is that it's a lot of like pages of code and you testing then things and like tweaking things and knowing algorithms and being able to figure out how to put different file sets together in an IDE that makes it all work.
And I guess maybe like I haven't done enough research to know how far we've gotten in like the automated content creation for video games yet, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't know, like what I was hoping was that one of these was more like this, just for Game Boy Advance games now. Like I was like, where is the GBA studio?
Well, and that's the thing, like,
want.
yeah, and so what I'm showing right now, like, think about this. Just look at some of the graphics on it.
Yeah.
I mean, you got a decent background. You got some parallax effects going on.
Sure.
Go to this elephant. Let's see. Can you talk to it? No. I'm using the keyboard right now to do this. There's a sign here.
And I was looking up, and it seems like maybe you can port like GB Studio games to Steam. Why is she so giant next to the house?
So here's a cool thing. Okay, it's trying to show you can do all these different areas. So you're running around. That was definitely platformer style. Now
Right.
you're point and click style. So
Yeah.
I need to. So you can click my TV, VHS player, the GameCube, game box.
I mean, I'm getting more and more convinced. I think maybe just like the one that you showed before was a bad platformer version.
So look how we went from platformer to point and click back to platformer by going into a little house.
Right.
Got that going. So let's continue on our little journey. I'm gonna talk to this guy here. All right, so this is an enemy, I think. Ah! Squished a little enemy. So this feels very Mario.
Yeah,
right?
this is Mario 2 with the little turnips.
It has a game save.
Great.
That's cool. And so, if you imagine, this is the template. You can go reverse engineer some of this and kind of rethink about it. That's what I like about it.
Yeah, well, you could just be like, okay, these are the elements that we have to work with, right? Are there any other elements of like going into different?
So here's a great segue, Ryan. So I'm running in very what, Mario style right now.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go over here, going across the bridge.
Now it's like the overworld.
Yeah.
Nice.
Like
I could see doing some of that.
And so you have like almost like a Pokemon style.
Yeah, like Zelda.
Like you can kind of like go around. So you go into so I think in like talk to little people.
And this is the one where like that's why all their signs are exactly the same, right? Because they just reuse that same sprite over and over because they only have a certain amount of
memory per
and that's why the colors, right? Like too are very specific, like same colors.
Yeah, and I mean this is cool because let's see here. I think there was like a way. So I go down in this little basement. There's like a little
pushing
puzzle.
Things.
Man, I forgot how this one works. Like, shoot. So how do I get in? So what would I have to push? Push. This one?
I don't know. I feel like I have a hard time.
Oh yeah, you push these two, and then you push this to the side. There we go.
Nice.
Come into the thing, and then this one. So it's like I think it's just trying to show you. You can do all the things. Okay, so you push it. This is like obviously an ice block, and you want it on that little red X.
Oh right, this little puzzle. Success.
Oh, look at you go into a little basement. So now look, it's like a little dungeon crawler again.
Yeah.
Like, I just love the transition between the game types. Like, you go get your thing, got the coin in the secret room. Now you're back out in your platformer style. So I love that. I just love that.
What are there like weapons?
So in this particular one, and I'd have to, I have played it before. Let's see here. So we're gonna have to do the same thing to get out. So you push what? This one forward, this one forward, this one to the side. Let me show you. Because I think if I go over here. So he's talking about it being his spaceship. Distract him. Uh-oh. How do I shoot? There we go. Now we're in a spaceship.
Nice.
Ah.
It is good that it's like you can shove all those different genres like into the.
Like imagine if that was
game.
what we have as a platform. You could shove a story into these things using
Right,
some of the
into
concepts.
yeah, totally.
So let me get to the end because I think it's like close. You're done. You beat the
What
game.
is in the top? Oh, okay, sorry. Wait.
No, you're good. Oh.
No, there was like a thing in the top left corner. Like I didn't know if it was your health or something.
Oh, I think it was you get hit. So back to the start of the game. So I'm gonna stop. I think that was just like a good example of. Let me close that out and go back to GP Studio. So maybe you hadn't seen that before, but now
I think I had, but I hadn't been thinking about it in the sense of like in a real project.
So if you look at what we just did, let's just do a quick review. So we started right where we were in a. Let's go find the world. We started here. Right?
Elephant, yeah.
So you click on this world, and off to the side, you have all these different things that you can adjust. And see this little play button? That's, let me zoom in a little bit, and maybe it'll be easier to see this way. Oh, maybe I have to zoom out so you can't see it. But
And is that like the cloud image? Is that an image or is that like vector or built in GB Studio? Or like are you importing in?
Yeah, you're importing these
CGs?
different things. They're just PNGs and they're like assets within there. So it's like
They're just PNGs?
Yeah. Like little pixelated maybe GIFs of different things. that you could
Because
pull
I was
in.
just like, because well, yeah, because so I guess that's because then they could be any color or any thing that I want, right? Or is
No,
that
there's some
like,
specifications with it. So like, yes, you can get things with some colors in it at this angle, but if we were going to try to play it as a ROM or export it, you would have some problem.
hmm,
But I think this is where we can push it. We can go see how the hell this works. And
right?
I think this version has a colorization like plugin, because if you look off to the right hand side, notice how the parallax background, or at least the asset that's in here, looks really green. It might be a little harder to see, but
Yeah,
it's somehow like green in this side. But I know within the application, you can go in and then you can kind of give it a color palette. So let me go back to it. So if I click on this, see over here, you have these different like palettes of color that you can use. Like
yeah.
you can change some of the background to do different things. So I don't know. I've played with this a little bit. You'd have to like go and see how this would work. But other things that it does have is these little hit boxes. So you like, hey, I want this thing to happen on here, and when you hover over it, I want you to click it, and it'll say "Welcome to GB Studio." We go in there, change that, and say like double drop down rules, because we clearly do. And so then the quick turnaround is, you see how quickly I threw that in there, right? Double drop down rules on that sign that we just would be able to place in there. And you can place other versions of those things in there. You recompile the game and it's ready to play, and you see it right then and there.
Yeah, like that is definitely how, like, can we both like communally work in that same file? Like, how is it, cloud based or is it browser based?
This is all just on my computer in a file, so we'd have to figure out that was a thing. But just quick little thing. So I just put that in there. We go to this sign. I did double drop down rules. I mean, that's pretty
Nice.
sweet how quickly you can start to pull in some of those assets. So, because maybe you didn't want it to be a sign, maybe you want it to be a cat. So we load in these.
A talking cat. Now you're talking crazy.
Now we're going crazy. Of course, I'm not gonna have to recompile it, but one of those things is like, what if at the end of a specific level, and you can see it right here, where if dependent on where you go back and forth, if you hit this little like orange thing, you're gonna go in. I'm gonna get a little closer. So this little orange hitbox is saying,
Mhm.
okay, well, go to this other page, and now you're in this thing. Oh, go to the orange again, and you go back to that other level. So it's like you can go be back and forth between the areas there. So
Okay.
what this would do for us, and I'm going to zoom far back out, imagine like this whole palette with all of these little boxes, and we're interconnecting those pieces.
Yeah.
And so what it does for us, we get to do the thing we like more, the design and the creative and
Right.
like the story, and we use this platform to do that. Now here, I don't want to like pretend like it's going to be that easy, because you go in here and you say like on init, so like on initialization, like do these things, play this song, make this happen faster, load
Right.
this particular person into the game. So I think we would that's where, at least in my opinion, the barrier that I would want to go beyond is like really having to mess with this like menu off to the right. And that Robert Dorman that I showed before, like he helps you like think about this a little bit deeper. And there's a couple
Yeah.
other people that are like, hey, you want an enemy to do this, and you want to make sure that you're using the right amount of like, what you call it, like a memory at that point. You can do that. I feel like I'm hard pitching. Sorry for that,
No,
but this is
like you're selling me on it. Like, like I keep going back to the thing of what why we did this with 3D printing, right?
yeah.
Like, we keep saying that we want to do fusion, or what's the
Fusion
more advanced-
360, yeah.
Fusion. We keep saying we want to be Fusion 360 designers, but we're Tinkercad designers. You
Yeah,
know?
that's the thing.
Like, and that's what I feels like this is going to end up being.
Look
which
at, I'm a
is
dog.
like,
I'm a dog, and I'm going to talk to the cat. Like, just think
do
about
not feed the elephant.
how quick we could concept some of the game, and we just have to nail that first like fun that we want to
Well,
create.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I feel like helps when you don't have to mess with the tools as much. Like obviously you still have to mess with the tools in
Right,
this,
right.
but like if you don't have to mess with them as much, then you can focus your efforts and your time and your, focus on what are the things we like, making a subversive story or something, right? Or like making some kind of really like interesting or thought-provoking, like, you know, level that does something different within Game Boy constraints, which is also just sort of makes it like nostalgic and good.
So if we looked at platforms and ways that we might consider that, you're right. Is that in this particular program, you'll see off the side, like they have all the scenes, and so the scenes are almost like layers in Photoshop. And then when you click on a particular scene, you'll then be able to see the assets and other things that are associated with the scene on the right hand side. Also, there are these scripts underneath here, and this is where I think it starts to get to that point where I don't know if I want to get to the level of having to figure out all these parts. Like if I say enemy ship destroy, like it shows an actor. An actor is basically the pixelated character you have on there, and then you have some effects that you can then like approach or attach to it. Now there's other views of this, and I can't remember where it's at right now. I'm gonna stop talking too deeply on this, but one of the last thing is you can get to a view where you actually see the code that drives this, and if you wanted to start tweaking it, you can make that happen. But from a general approachability standpoint, after playing with this for over an hour or two, I think you start to realize, like, man, I could really, even like if I had a really good base example game, which they give you, you can
Right.
iterate on it quite well. And I think like a first attempt is by maybe March, we could have a version of a Game Boy-esque game, and we can say, all right, we got that. Now, is it approachable in Godot, or
Right.
can we translate what we just did in this platform to something a little bit bigger? Maybe.
Yeah, I I know like you would probably not be able to reuse a lot of the assets that you had created, but I think like when we start building it in there, we'll start to understand if like is this the level that we're going to do for this first iteration of whatever this project is like this GB Studio version. And
Yeah.
then if we want to take it further, or if people get interested in it, or we get really interested in it, then we could take it further than that. I think we'll find out as we
And bring other
dig in.
people in. I mean,
Yeah.
if they need to help us out, and we're like, all right, we got to this point where we got this cool thing, but we need somebody that has actual game development experience.
Right.
Like, why the hell not? And so, to be completely candid, working on a college campus, I have some access to people that know how to build games and what platforms to consider it. And so, if we need to kind of call in some of those folks, maybe that's part of the interview cycle as we go throughout this year of just like figuring out how do we learn how to do some of the things that we want to do.
Well, and even just getting into those communities, right? And because we're gonna whatever we choose, we're gonna be watching hella videos and getting into a lot of different discussion posts, if I had to guess.
So let's do this. I think that mural board time, maybe.
Okay,
I,
mural board.
I think this is a way to do it. So if you've never heard of mural board, and I don't think you've heard of
It
it,
kills
right?
me. I had never heard of it either because I kept thinking that you were saying Miro, which I use Miro, Miro boards.
So Miro, if you want to be in this, and so full transparency, a new person at work had turned me on to this. They were like, "Hey, we're gonna go do some work together and build out a plan." And so I think you have the link to it. It should be in your Zoom chat if you don't if you're looking for it. But what a
Okay, yeah, I
mural
was.
board is a way to allow us to collaborate. And there's Ryan. You can see him on the screen.
Yeah.
He's zooming around. Is that how Miro works?
Yeah,
You
I
little-
mean this
it's exactly the same thing.
not exactly, but it's looking pretty similar so far.
So what we can do is we can start to pull out little sticky notes or whatever kind of, like, there's a whole bunch of little design things right here. Oh, there's little icons. I want to see these icons. Oh, this is awesome. And we could start creating. Why did it give us thumbs up over there? That's fun. And we can start figuring out what we want to do with the game. And I think just putting some of our thoughts on a board together is a helpful way for us to kind of approach what we were talking about earlier of being a little bit more organized than we've had in the past. And have you played with any of those platforms? Like, is any of that make sense to you? Like, what's an unnamed area? What does that mean? An area.
I was just like this would be the section where we talk about the platform stuff, and we'll put a bunch of little sticky notes
But
in
what
here.
is no? That's cool. I'm just curious. Like, what features does an area give you? Like when you pull
Oh,
that box out.
I assume. Oh, then you can move all the content all at once if you wanted to move it around.
Oh, nice. That's good. So you got to put the word platform in there. All right, we're gonna try this out. So what
Okay.
I can probably zoom in onto that, and we'll start from there. So one of the first things that we were gonna say is what how do we want to approach this from a design perspective? Like I think it's going to be pretty open as to what we can. Yeah. So this is platform. We're just going to throw some platforms. What was the other one you took?
Godot.
Godot. I think that was a good one.
I mean, and then it's like Unity, right? Like Unity, you can also get like a free license for, but
Uh,
that feels like even further outside of our comfort
I
zone.
don't even want to do that because of all the news with that. So, all right, we got two platforms in there.
What's the other really big one?
Unreal.
Unreal. I think all of those you can get like,
Yeah.
I'm just playing around licenses.
All right. Well, you do you want to put in a Unreal? There we go.
Okay.
Put in Unreal.
And then like maybe do we want to have a section because let's see. Because I would like to say even for any of these, like how do we distribute out of it?
I'm not even. Do we? Okay. I mean, I appreciate that you're thinking that right now. I'm almost thinking like, let's land the plane and even getting a game.
No, because if you put all the work into doing something in a platform, like you should know what like if it could only stay in the platform, then that's I feel like that's more of a downside than other platforms that could like save out to lots of different, places for people to try them.
Yeah. And
Like if you could take GB Studio games and I can play them with a controller on itch.io or on Steam or on any of those, then like that I feel like we would just get more people to play it.
I agree. I mean, all these things they compile it and you create different ways to do that. I'm pretty dang
So
sure.
is that like, and maybe I'm just ignorant about like how video games is up. Maybe everyone's like, of course, all of these save out to everything. It's just a generic game file that you save out.
Yeah. I thank you, Darth or Con. It's. Wait, did I say that? I say it wrong every time.
Darth Gorkon.
Darth Gorikon. Man, I'm the worst. Yeah. How do we distribute it? That's the hard part. So like GB Studio itself has created like people that are passionate about those kind of games, so then they go to there and you can get some plays on that. I mean, it depends
Ooh.
on what you want to do.
Okay, so can we with GB Studio, can we 3D print a actual Game Boy cartridge and put a tiny thing into it and have it so that it plays on a real Game Boy?
100% you can. Yeah.
So that's I feel like that's it depending on how it would go. I would how sweet would it be to print out like hundreds of those and just like give them away?
So here's
Like
the thing.
I want to give them away to every kid that comes in at Halloween. Like I want to give them a game my Game Boy
They're your
for them
Game
to
Boy
play.
game. So yeah, so you can buy like in bulk from like China or something a bunch of
Oh, sure.
cartridges, and then I have a device that loads the thing onto it. It's sweet.
Or like can we take it and make it its own uh like iOS game or something
So
or
here's the thing: is like if we start going too deep into the app part, it's gonna like we just can use the web to distribute some of it. That Pines game that I just played, if you go and open that link on your phone right now, it will play absolutely on your phone.
right.
And it was made with GB Studio. Like it is
Yeah.
literally there. Like if you said, "Hey, come to Double Drop Down," and here it is, or it sounds like we can put it on what is it, Steam? Like
Yeah, if you could put it on Steam, like if you could put it on Steam, then I feel like you could put it on
So
anything,
let's
right? At
think
that
about it.
point.
I appreciate this because you're thinking of the end in mind. That's a good design philosophy. Like, what are we gonna do at the end with this? Like, we don't want to run all this way and realize like, oh
Right.
crap, we
And then we're
can't do a
like, and
damn
then
thing
we
with it.
because I feel like that's kind of what happened with the AI board game because like we were like, well, we want to distribute the file, and then we were like, okay, we distributed the file, but like the actual platform and the way that people like download it and do it like needs to be in a system that allows people to like search for it, I guess,
And find
maybe.
it. Well, printables will do that. It's just I think
That's
we
true.
have a long lead time, and if you remember back
Yeah.
on the Prince of Persia game thing, it like took 2 years for certain times for that to
Right.
be adopted. So now we could promote the shit out of it if we really wanted to, or we're also thinking about it from a very narrow lens if you want to think about this, and maybe not super narrow, but the idea that we're going to build a game, and if you were in a game studio you'd be like, well, the marketing department's going to like really make sure it looks cool, they're going to be
Right.
pushing out the stuff doing that, and then the game designers are going to be designing the game, and the distributors are going to figure out how they're going to get it to people, and so
Yeah.
we got to do all of that. And so let's get the platform that works for us. Let's make sure we can.
Yeah. And that's why I think it needs to be different or, have some kind of different like aspects to it if you wanted it to be. But like maybe we're not. Maybe it's more yeah, why is there like confetti falling? They're like, "Congratulations, you made your first pink note." So, yeah, like what I wouldn't want to do is have to concentrate on too much of just like the basics of it to be able to like I want to lean into it being weird or different or cool like or like really exotic with how the visuals are or something, and I want to lean into that part of it or how the gameplay works or how the story unfolds more than I want to
So
do anything else.
yeah,
So
so let's do this. Let's be honest with ourselves, and let's try to develop a story, because like think we've done this before. If we get too into the business, I guess, side of it, or into the like the holistic part, and it's like boiling the
it's
ocean, you know.
well it's almost like I just want people to play this one. Like that
Yeah,
feels
yeah.
like a goal that I want for the beginning of this is not only to make a cool thing, but also have like I don't know, like there's a narcissistic side of me, right? Or something that goes, I made this super cool thing and like five people played it.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh man, if I make something cool, like I want to be able to like give people a chance to be able to play it. But it sounds like GB Studio at least has like some avenues for that. Which I also like the idea of a physical thing is cool.
I like that too. I like cartridges. So maybe
Cartridges are fun.
so let's do this. Let's I don't know what we're doing on this mural board, but it's so we put some goals on there. So
Okay.
I don't know. We're just making little cards right now here. I wonder if I could do this. Oh, I can. Oh shoot, maybe I can't. Can I change the colors of all these? We'll make them yellow sticky notes, regular yellow sticky
Perfect.
notes. So
Classic.
we want people to play a game. Platform that allows distribution. Kind of said that on that one, but I want to put it again. All right. What other kind of things we want to do is we want to tell a story.
Yep.
I think that if that the north for me with this is that we can tell a story, and if there was a piece of me that loves video games, it's the fact that you actually get to be part of the story. It's not as passive. You're like an actual character in it.
Right. Yeah. Well, and I mean, we'll have to talk about that when we talk about theme, right? Or just like what the storyline is.
So we got some really great feedback from the folks that are coming along with us here, and one of them, I think we need to call out right now. It's just the last one that popped up is that
Darth Corcoran.
avoided is the concept over the representation of any kind of narrative. So you come up with a cool concept, but you don't have any story, and it just falls flat because you're like, yeah, there's a guy and aliens are coming, and you got to fight them off. Great, it gets boring quick, and so how do you craft this narrative that starts to unfold in such a way. And so maybe we go back to some of the Fusion, Metroid Fusion I was playing as an example, is that if you watch and you go that you're like, this is a freaking Game Boy Advance game, but it starts with this idea of this like thing taking over your body and all this other stuff, and now you're trying to figure out what happened to you, and it's like a cluey mystery, and it's fun to like make your way through, and then you unlock other little secrets as you go. So that's what I'm getting at. We want to be creative. We want to tell a story. We want to focus on that. We want to have like a fun little what would you say, like that, it's not the 15 minutes or 15 seconds, like a fun 15
A
seconds.
fun like game loop or something. Is that what that's called?
Yeah.
And like I think we want to stay like within like a specific scope maybe or something like I don't think we're looking to make an entire game necessarily. Like maybe a level of a game or a piece of a game.
Yeah, I would think like, you know what? If a solid first few levels, I could see like a what was that one? There's a couple of them, but maybe like 3 levels. Let's say it was 3 levels, because then you
Right.
get to have different environments. You could tell a story across some different kind of ecosystems, or however we want to call that. You have a couple different enemy types. You could have, a couple different boss. 3 is a number that they
Right.
always say you need to do.
Oh, I was even like you could have like two mini bosses and a end boss or something. I mean, at that point, that sort of is a game, but
So
yeah, I
Darth
like
Gorkon
something
talks.
that takes like 10 minutes or like how long would you expect
I think
someone to take?
you can make it. I have some ideas on how you can make it, probably 30 minutes to an hour.
Sure.
Whereas we can halo it or whatever you want to call it, where you have to go back through the level and other things come out. What I
Right.
like is that like you have to go all the way over this side of the level and you get the key, and then there's all these little doors that you could have gone through now that you have the key, as you go back, and like that
Sure.
then like has this little side mission and things like that. I think that's the fun thing.
Cool. I'm into it. I'm into it. Let's see. What other goals would we have? Do we want to do a majority of it on stream or like how like I want to be able to like one goal is to not dedicate my life to this, I guess. It like, it almost needs to be within the scope of like our lives too.
So we just say good luck. Work. I was gonna say work life balance. I was gonna say
Yeah, hey, whatever.
stream life balance.
Stream life balance.
Oh man. Yeah, because that's
Because
that's a good one.
yeah, because I feel like this is no matter what, like even just making like animated sprites of stuff moving around is like complicated and dedicated. So
This is good. This is
yeah,
good. I mean, you know what we got to do too. I gotta put this one on there. If this doesn't come out, then we're done. It's got to be fun.
fun. Ooh, I got another one. The one of the goals should be that it incorporates like feedback and like
Yeah.
interaction from the chat and from Discord.
Yeah. What does my son always say? Oh man, so there's something he's always messing with me because he knows I'm a streamer. He's like, what you think, chat? He
Oh
always
yeah.
says that.
Did you see that? I heard a thing that said that like kids are saying that in like elementary school when they just are like talking to the class or whatever. They're like, check it out, chat. Here's the thing that I'm doing, as opposed to being like, because it's also gender neutral. So you're not like, hey guys. You're like, what's up, chat? Seems ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, he was doing that. He's like, okay, chat. Well, yeah, what's up, chat? And I was like, oh man, what are you doing? All right,
Yeah.
great. Involved audience. We have it fun. Stream life balance. Do a lot of this on stream. Solid first levels. Fun game
Ooh.
loop.
Darth said like the healthy balance of colors being used, but not too many is to overload some players because they're neurodivergent people. Are huge sector of that. I would say like putting one of our goals as being like accessible, is a good.
Got a lot of goals in here. We're gonna have to like solidify these up, so
Hey,
it's a good one. Yeah. Well,
we
accessible
can
is
have a
what.
lot of goals.
Yeah, I just want to be able to make sure this is almost like milestones that we can organize. Um, Yeah, independent games lean towards story or gameplay. So I want to dive into that, Kylea, a little
Yeah,
bit because I
that's
think
true.
it is a balance, and that's why, at least for like the Metroid, that I liked about it, because the gameplay that was fun is that the enemies respawn every time you get into the world and you kill them, and you can. But then there's still that story. Like I think they balanced that really good.
It Yeah, and I think you could even like the advances that people have done in that sort of genre. I think you could even like take the little moments, the story. It's like it's a game, but then it has little story like moments, even like built into the levels, or even as part of. Does the Game Boy Studio GB Studio does it do like cutscenes?
Yeah, yeah, you can
So you could
totally
just
do
have
that.
like a what an animated GIF or something playing.
I we'd have to play.
Yeah.
So there's, I mean, this is a lofty set of goals here to make this happen, but I
Yeah.
love it. It like helps
Well,
us
this is
get a
this is what
north.
we're like. This is the brainstorm, the like dump of everything onto here.
We were like, the good thing about this is I think when in the past we would talk about it the whole time, but we wouldn't capture it.
Right.
And this is, I think, the difference that we're looking at is we can do that. So we got platform details, we got some goals. Can we go and talk about some potential story arcs?
Or yeah,
Is
like
this the time to do that?
themes or well, so I think you should do I think there should be what like gameplay that we might like games that we one of these I think should be like games that we like or games that we want to emulate
Ooh, that's a good one.
or
Okay. How did
um
you get this little like detail thing out? Like what was the one that you pulled?
the like the frame for it.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it was tables and areas, and then I went freeform area.
Just pull one out. I just didn't know where it was. Okay. So let's do this one as inspiration.
Yeah, that's a good.
Okay. So I'm gonna throw mine as definitely Metroid. You know, you could have even little mini games in it. I'm listening to chat. We gotta listen to chat. It's gonna be
Oh
hard to
yeah,
do both of those. So like it's gonna be a balance between two. I'm gonna feel like we're gonna lean story with this because I think we're good storytellers and we can really pull together some of that. And
I think so, and I just think like the gameplay in a Game Boy game is like pretty simple. You know, like you're not gonna get. I don't think you're gonna get real advanced like.
but that's the
I
cool
mean,
part.
even Metroid,
How
like
advanced can you
even
get?
Metroid that you're playing now is like not. It's
True.
sort of platformy, and you're
True.
shooting missiles, and
Yeah. You're not wrong. Axiom Verge. What was that? Yeah, because it's like platformer. We're talking left to right, up and down. Maybe doors that are there, but you go just to another platform world. Like an adventure game. So hey, should we do this? Wait, hold on a second. This would be a perfect moment for us to do. Um, oops, sorry about that. We should do. What am I trying to say? I'm gonna grab a tab. I need to grab a tab. Put it over here. AI. Let's use OpenAI to help us.
oh yeah,
We
right.
should be totally doing that. All right. And
Oh, that should be in a goal.
I'll put that in a goal too. Yeah. Use AI.
I'm doing it.
Got it.
We use AI.
Yeah. So what I'm gonna do is let's get it to
Okay.
help us get just some game concepts. So as we start to fill in some of the inspiration, chat had given some a little bit earlier. So there's like Bomberman, Golden Sun. Those are two that I remember. You mentioned Atari games with your buddy. I don't know if there was anyone that stood out with that. I'm a big like puzzly game. Like of course Tetris is like a skilly puzzle kind of game, but I'm not saying we want to do a Tetris, but
Right.
like with a Metroid, you really I would say it's a puzzle in a sense because you're trying to find your way through different worlds and get to this point and find these other parts.
But it's more like exploration,
Yeah, that's true. It's
right?
an
It's like
exploration.
exploration and action, because you're shooting guys and you're running around.
Spot. Zombies ate my neighbors. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's a good one as well.
The
I played
Seven
that on the
Up
Mister.
game. Which one? Which Seven Up
Oh
game
yeah,
was that?
yeah, with the spot.
Where was that on? You know, we could also these are inspiration games. Yeah, inspiration, not story. This is just games right now.
Sure.
So we might have like story inspirations and like skull bobs and stuff as well.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's true.
So the games itself are more like the gameplay, the style, the ways that we can do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a complete copy of what we just created there, and I'll say inspiration story as well. Things that we might consider for that. And yeah, I'm getting used to this board and how this all works. So this is fun. Who's used a mural board before? Is this like Miro? Is it better, worse? I'm curious.
It almost seems like very similar to Miro. Yeah. Which is, I'm sure like the very close sounding name is part of that.
I'm looking up the Spot game just because it sounded funny. I don't remember. I do remember it. Like, it's weird when something hits you and you're like, holy crap, I remember something about that. Here, I'm going to throw it on the stream real quick.
So you should, if you are,
Never
if you
played
like
Spot.
Metroidvania type games, I was looking up some of them because I was like, oh, if we're gonna do that type of game, what are good games in that genre, right?
Yeah.
And that's right, like Hollow Knight came up as that, Haiku the Robot, like they were all like we should look at some of those, or maybe like when we start deciding on how we want the game to act and feel and everything.
Sure.
And like we should just look at some of these. But that Axiom Verge, man, that one is crazy. And they made an Axiom Verge 2, and apparently people didn't like it nearly as much. But Axiom Verge is very like you're getting different weapon types, and that's what helps you like kill different types of enemies. And anyway, oh man, the art in that is super crazy.
So this is
And
the homework, and we were talking about this.
yeah,
Is that up to this point on the stream we do these, and then in the in betweens we've been doing our own like game streaming.
yeah.
How sweet would it be that we build these lists and we're like, all right, let's start
This is the now the stream games that we stream.
the games we stream in between, and that's where we start doing our research, and at least it keeps it on point. Is where we're going. I like that idea.
Totally.
I want to play the Spot game really bad right now. I want.
What does it look like?
I don't know.
Can
if
you just like Google it or
Yeah, I
bring it
did.
up on a...
It's a Super Nintendo game. I didn't even know what it was. I want to watch like a video on it. Like, there's got to be a. Is there not a video? Spot. Okay, 7-Up Spot gameplay. Just because I want to see it. It's called out. Here it is. It's like the full run through of the Spot game.
Love it.
All right, we're gonna just check it out just to get a.
Yeah, just like skip to the middle of it.
Yeah, that's a good idea. It's 29 minutes. All right.
Oh man, no.
Yeah,
This is not the one I was thinking about. Unless this is the whole game.
Oh my god, I thought this was different.
No, the one that I'm thinking about is like a side scroller.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. This was Spot the video game. Like you're running around. Wait, hold on. Is this it?
Cool Spot. You're like, oh man, that looks great.
Wow, this is amazing.
Metaverse,
Super
Metaverse.
Super
Oh,
Nintendo back in the day. Yeah, this. I think this is the one I was thinking about. Yeah, that Spot. Cool. All right, let's jump in the middle. Yeah, this is the one I want to play. Smacking the shells.
I
Yo,
love
yo,
that.
yo.
What is he throwing something?
He's throwing some 7-Up at him.
Or it's like snowball. It's like bubbles.
He's like, take my carbonation.
Oh yeah, like the carbonated bubbles. I like that. Oh, you can't jump on stuff. This is a Mario.
This isn't. You gotta go get your Verizon token so you can
Well-
up your phone.
Oh, it's like the fizz. That makes sense.
It's really funny to. Oh God, he just got ate by
Oh,
a.
that's his death. Oh, that's a good death. And oh, like one gold death animation.
Okay, that's a goal. You could probably put that as aspects of the game. Oh, that would be what we should put in. See, this
Okay,
is
yeah.
this is where it start. We are in the open phase of development, so there's different ways that you can conceive it. We're really just kind of capturing everything in the open, narrow, and closed. So, I
Oh yeah, yeah. And I hear a lot about going wide and then narrowing back in.
yeah. Well, let's get all those concepts on the table. Then we'll have like a
Okay,
really good cut sheet. All right, I'm done with Spot. This looks
death
fun.
animation.
I wanna throw that together. All right, so from as you are on the mural board, what I'll do is I'll put that on one side, and then will not let me put mural board on the other. Huh. Oh, I see why. Hold on a second. Here we go. There we go. So what do you are you still putting inspiration in? Oh, you already are over here on aspects of the game. So
Death animation. That's all I put.
So we are building. I'm writing a chat GPT as you do this. So
I'm gonna add some to inspiration story, or should we? Do we need to talk about each one as we add them?
nah, just chuck it in there. But just tell me where you're at because I can show everyone what you're putting on there as you're doing it.
Well,
So
it's just kind of a general, like almost just broad topic, almost of someone else's IP or our IP.
okay, I see what you're saying. Well, that's why I put Skull Bobs in there. But man, the second you start putting other people's stuff in there, it starts to get a little dicey on like who owns rights and all that other crap. Like, how sweet would it be for us not to have to worry about any of that crap? That's my only 2 cents on it.
I have an argument against that. Though.
Okay, I want to hear
If
it.
you
I
want
want
to
to hear
hear
it.
it, if
I
you do want to
do.
hear it, do you want to hear it right here?
100%. Go for it.
Okay, so I've been thinking about this, right? Because I know we had talked about using skull bobs before, right? Like,
Yeah.
and going, and so basically saying like we want to do our like, do we do our IP or do we do someone else's IP? And like, why do people typically not do other people's IP? It's because they don't want to run into a bunch of like legal issues when they try to sell it or put it up somewhere and like get money for it. And I was like, it there are pros and I feel like there are pros and cons to using your own IP, that are totally valid, right? Like
Okay.
pros of using your own IP, you don't have to worry any about that. It's your own cool thing. You get to walk away, you get to make it anything you want, right? Like if I want the main character to look like a 7 foot tall, cucumber, like I can do that. Like whereas if you're using somebody else's IP, you're sort of like you're kind of going along and using their kind of like style and creativity and
Okay.
doing something new with it. I one thing that I was thinking about with this is like we're not selling it, right? Like we're trying our almost like our product is this show that we're doing and building it up and then we just give it away. That was kind of like something that we had talked about, before of like, oh, hey, what we want to do is like build this community and do this channel and have like the hangout that we are excited about and do the project and not necessarily like sell a widget afterwards. And so I was like, it could be neat. And I don't know, like we would have to do more research. Like, can you even release things for free, even if you're not even charging for them or trying to get any money that is like emulating a show or a style or a, famous person or any of those things. I'm not exactly sure about any of that.
Depends on how big it gets or how popular
Sure,
it gets.
right?
Like if
and
it's
then and then you're like, then did it cause its, and then you could just be like, well, I'll pull it down, I guess then.
that
But
sucks.
did it I guess, but like did it make its, mark that it needed to, which is like, hey, promote the thing that is the actual thing that we were doing, which is this entire stream over the next year of building and planning this thing, right? So that's what
I think it's both.
that was
I
part of
really
it.
think it's both. But yeah, I appreciate that perspective.
And then the only other thing I was thinking is like, so here's what I kept going back to, is I watched the Beetlejuice musical
Yeah.
over
That's why you missed the last
holiday
stream of
break.
the
That's why I
year.
missed the last one, the end of the year show. Why we had to pre-tape it, and I was like, they did sort of like a retelling of Beetlejuice, um, and like changed what the characters like, changed their motivations and their backgrounds and like what they look like and how much they were part of the story and how they interacted with each other. But like the main sort of gist of Beetlejuice was still there, right? And I was like, that was really cool. And what it did is it made me want to go and see their creative endeavor, right? Because I sort of knew what Beetlejuice was. And I was like, you know, it's neat to see somebody else's interpretation of something that is already out there, right? And if we talked about things, us wanting to have limitations on what we're doing, like I'm not saying do a Beetlejuice game, right?
Sure.
But like if we're just, I'm just going to use Beetlejuice right now as like an example of that type of thing. You would be like, oh, right, we sort of know what Beetlejuice looks like and what, Lydia looks like and what the two, dead people up in the attic look like and kind of the rough structures of it, which could be a neat way to like put limitations on what we're doing as opposed to being like, whoa, we're going to do, anything under the sun. You could then be like, oh, we're going to pick a scene from a movie and make that into a video game level or something, right? Or
So
like
there's like a
a
little bit of,
moment in
yeah,
history or something. Like something that people already can like bite on and be like, right, I would play a thing because I sort of know that already and I want to see what their creative interpretation of it was,
right.
as opposed to it's so much harder, like you said, we're not going to have the team to make it go be awesome and like
Yeah, it's true.
have a million, like things for it that, distribute it and market it and do all of the stuff that you would need to do to be able to like get people interested in a thing that they have never heard of, right? Which is your own IP. That would be a lot harder, so we would have less people to do it.
Well, I mean, but this goes back to the goals. You just want people to play it, so like it's a marketing
Right.
strategy. I think if you have a really good storyline out there that you could you could layer in whatever that would look like on the top of it. And so if we like, I don't know, it almost have to be like a current event that doesn't have a
Well, and
copyright,
we
but
so we talked about that like a little
yeah,
bit, like
yeah,
let's say there was something at the end of the year that we wanted to like build a thing towards and then be like, oh, and now it's sort of like comes out when that thing happens.
right.
Like that could be an interesting way to still it maybe be your own idea and IP and what your own creative thing, but just sort of glom on to something that everybody knows about and is popular.
So then
Or
you get that hook, and then people will go and play it because it comes out then.
right, because it comes out then and it's like, and
So,
if you
so
I
okay,
mean, if we're so let's say we're talking about this, like this is this is us just hanging out. Everyone who's along for the ride is hearing like this is
I
how
know
the sausage is made, right?
this is
Like
what we do.
part of this is that we're trying to promote and build up a, Twitch channel, right? And so I feel like if you could do onto something that was a current event or some kind of very famous thing and do it with a Game Boy style that people could be interested in, like maybe they would, write a blog post about it or talk about it or share it like more
I think
often
we
than
should
they would
do a
typically
video
do.
game on two guys that are trying to start a stream, and
Yeah,
that's what it is. Honestly,
very
I
meta.
I I am at this point where, and I'm being a little selfish here with it, is like I just want to build a game that I want to play, and if other people want to go and play the damn thing, then awesome, we can make that happen. Like, of course I'm
Totally.
going to share it. And so, because if I have passion in it and I kind of think to like other people that do things that they're like, you know what, I don't give a shit about anybody else. I'm not really trying to have an ulterior motive. I want to
Yeah.
just build something amazing. Like, maybe I want that to be my north. And then if we can find something like you described that we're like, that's a great idea and I have a passion for it, I'm all down for it. So, like, maybe what we need to do before we do that is be so wide that we play a couple things that maybe helps direct it, because maybe we do all this planning, we get to the point of like, all right, let's build the thing, and we're like, oh crap, that we can't do that, it's too hard, like it's going to be too long, or that's not going to like work in the way that we are thinking about it, and we almost have to reverse our thinking based off the capabilities we find ourselves in. So start small. Like, we're piloting even we're saying we do 3 levels. maybe our first thing is, can we even make the guy run back and forth, shoot things, like pick things up or do whatever, like the things that we're expecting it to do?
Well, and that's so 100%, 100% agree with that. I don't think we have to pick the theme even
Okay.
before we start building things and testing things and trying out
Got
levels,
it.
because we sort of know what style of game that we want. And we're just going to be experimenting with stuff at the beginning, and then we'll be like, "Oh, you know what's really awesome is like it's really great because you the shooting sucks, but the melee is really great, right?" And then
Right.
so you'd be like, well, like what type of game would go towards melee, you know? And then you'd be like, oh, what if it was like around, you know, this thing that's happening? Or if we just go, oh man, I think we could have tell a super cool story with these types of gameplay elements and like these, you know, these other. I think like some of that the function will follow the form or the opposite of that. I can't remember.
I
But
yes. No, you're
it's, so then I was also saying I just wanted to so I was like arguing hard for that like somebody else's IP there for
yeah.
a minute, right? But on the other side, like you were saying, oh, it's a thing that I just want to make and like I think is interesting, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I would also say like in that bucket, I had also thought like when you look back on a thing that you built after a year, like it's neat to be like, we had this fully formed story that we wanted to tell, and we made this like little short, almost art piece
Mhm.
out of this like one thing. And when I look back on it, I can be like, yes, I did that. Whereas, will I be able to look back on that if it was a level for like a Beetlejuice like scene or something? I feel like there's less like personal stuff
Mhm.
to that. Like there's less kind of like I don't know, heart to it. Like it feels more marketing, right? It feels like, oh, we want to build a thing in a product, which I have grown up in that like level of like when you do something, when you build something, it should have an audience, right? Like, and so I'm like the school that I went to, like I went to SCAD, right? And like
Yeah. Oh,
SCAD
I see
is
where you're coming from now.
you're right. Got my SCAD like mug, water jug here. And SCAD was a very business oriented art school, right? And so they were like, you are going to go into art, and that is going to be your career of how you make money and do things. So my mindset is always sort of geared towards like not just a thing for your heart because you think it would be cool to like do a thing that you do. You're like, no, no, no. Who is the audience and who is going to buy this thing is like my always sort of in the back of my mind. So, you know, I'm always gonna sort of push in more in that direction, but I'm happy to like consider and
So
even probably go into a thing that is more towards the heart.
the cool part of you and I doing this is I think we riff on each other. So let me take that a step
Right.
further. Is that you? I hear you with the Beetlejuice. What if it was something like down that path to where we could extend a story that we always really
Right.
liked? Like what if we and
Like in the same world as something
so
else, right?
I'm gonna say this and then I'm gonna laugh too because I don't know if you knew this, but what if we did like the Fifth Element? And like it's the game.
Right.
There is a Fifth Element game, by the way. It is
But it's like
terrible,
awful. It's
so terrible.
awful.
But like, what if that was? And I'm just using that as an example. But you come in there and you like you go with one of those stories. You don't do the Fifth Element story. Like
Sure.
you do the story of like, remember that one part where they're like in the chaos of right as the guys are coming out and the lady does her crazy singing, the opera singer that happens, and then
Right.
but there's this one guy that's in there and they cut to him and he does some little funny thing, like you tell his story, like
Right.
that's the
I
story, like that's awesome.
like I totally love the idea like Star Wars does a lot of that, right? Where it's just like in the world that is happening around them is Star Wars stuff, right? But then you're like, "Oh, here's my little side story piece of it." Like and I think you could do that. I think you could also tie that to something that is like an event that is coming up, you know, like something that is coming out this year or something that has to do with something. So I I don't think we're going to settle on this tonight, you know, obviously. Like it's 10 minutes till 11.
Yeah,
Um
it's all
but
good.
like
This is great.
I I think these are all just like discussions that we keep having and what I want to land on is something that like we're excited about.
Yeah.
Because the only I've always like we always said this like about it is like what makes this an entertaining thing to watch and be a part of, and for me to work on with you, and for me to keep caring and giving a shit about it week after week, is that like I'm excited to be doing the thing. And if that feels too hokey, or that feels too commercial, or that feels too like a job, then it's not nearly as fun.
uh, you're hitting on that. I think I'm in the same boat. The second this feels like my job is the second I don't want to do it anymore, to be completely honest. So
And then once we quit our jobs and this becomes our job, then we'll start hating that, and we'll
then
start doing
we'll
some
hate
other
each
side
other,
thing
have the
outside
fallout.
of Twitch. Like, oh,
You're like, you know what would be really awesome if I went and I did IT for a higher
yeah, like I
education
dug ditches
institution
outside.
and stream it. No, all right. So we had
What
a
did ChatGPT come up with for like
so
to
yeah, I
close us
think
out
this
a
would
little
be
bit?
great. So I think we want to capture one thing. There was one story idea down to the details. I just want to call it out just so we can make sure we're acknowledging it. It's like, what if you had to like get your memories and complete who you once were, and you wander
Right.
and fight monsters to gain those memories? Like that's a cool story idea, and I think that's where we want to get to. Is like we're gonna riff on that, and there's probably gonna be a story episode coming up pretty here. Um, Love the Fifth Element sub story.
Nice.
Yeah, I
Fifth
like.
Element is amazing.
Yeah, I just watched it the other day. It was really good. Again, it's
So
such a
good.
good one. But
So good.
I like the idea of being able to tell those, because you know what always was something about growing up is you would see like really good stories. It's all sequel mania anymore, but like you'd like, I really want to know how that went, or how that little thing, or how did they get to that point. And so some
Yeah.
ideas here. All right. So what it came up with ChatGPT is as we were chit chatting, I said we're building a retro Game Boy or Super Nintendo style game, retro, pixels, story, and fun. We are novices at game design, but are creative designers who want to make a game. We are in the discovery phase of this project and would like to get help understanding how we might approach the process of building a board game.
Great.
So with that, they go into it. I'm not going to read it verbatim, but they talk about cool.
Give me the headlines.
The headlines are: you want to conceptualize your game. Start with a clear idea or theme. So they're saying start with the story. Get that figured out. What kind of characters, world, challenges will you... Oh, that is a good one. Challenges. Like, because if you're building a game, you're going to want to build puzzle pieces, challenges, or some parts of it that are going to be...
I added that to the aspects of the game.
Okay, sweet. Since you're aiming for retro style, think about classic elements that made those games memorable. And we started with that. Remember, we're like, what was the things that you remember from back in the day? And I think some of those things back in the day is that if I had a couple games that I got them, and within 2 minutes I was like, I hate this game. I'm never going to build it. It's way too hard. It's like, it's got to be just enough challenge, but it's still fun. Like enough that you can progress through it. Like not even save points. That's not the right word, but like something to where like you don't lose progress and have to start from the very beginning.
Yeah. Well, I think there's like
there's
exploration, right? There's like discovery. There is, what is it? Like being, like small, like what do they call this? Like small delighters or something like that, where it's like creative or cool or interesting things like pop up like in as part of it.
So I put
like
small...
unexpected things happen.
Like collecting things. Collecting like story, sub-story elements or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like the little like pads that you find out in the world that tells you some story about something.
Oh wait, yeah. Here's the things that I had. What are the main elements of a Metroidvania game? I have a map that shows which rooms you visited.
Ooh, yeah.
Gaining powers and abilities over time so you can access new areas. Hidden stuff like power-ups and secret rooms. I like the idea of like secret rooms.
Yeah.
That do different like parts of the story, or like parts of the story you could miss if you miss the secret room.
Yeah, like secret areas is what you're saying. Oh.
Yeah.
Oops. Well, you said something else before I didn't capture, and I can't remember what that was.
Oh, luckily this is on tape.
Yeah, no, secret rooms, maps. Oh yeah, it was power ups, and
Power-ups.
weapons, and
Or
XP.
and XP.
Like, you know how you collect as you go along. Boo on missables.
Missables. Missables.
So when you say that, like, because maybe I missed what you were saying, like you can miss certain things through the game.
Well, like you know how they're not like you wouldn't necessarily get every missile upgrade,
Oh,
right?
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
In that. But I mean, I guess like I mean most games have where like, oh, you have to pick up the little audio recorder, right, at the corner of the room to hear that like part of the story. Feels sort of like that, right? Like you could miss it in the sense that you just like don't go into that room or don't do it.
Yeah.
Then you don't get that like little piece of the story.
Yeah, and I think that would be the thing. Like, it wouldn't be core, but
It wouldn't be core.
man, it would. This is probably impossible, but like procedurally generated, that would be sweet. Like it changed a little bit.
Oh man. Well, so part of me went like, how do I make this like how do I plug ChatGPT into this and have it do the dialogue, or something for it? I feel like that's a stretch, thing, but I was like, man, because then you could run it off the Raspberry Pi, right? And it would be like the Raspberry Pi Game Boy game that is like an art installation that you play at,
Well,
uh,
I'm gonna say, like, let's say this then. Like, yes, like maybe we could do that. I'm not gonna rule it out. We're not there yet. Like we may
yeah.
we may be able to figure out a way to do some of that work. So if as we start to get closer to wrapping today, like as far as a design thing, they're like choose the right tools, which I mean I think AI did exactly what we were saying and we were doing today. They gave some other ideas. They said, consider game development platforms. Of course, they pull Unity. Ugh.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, it's the very first one they say. Or a
Nice.
dedicated retro style engines like RPG Maker, Picto 8, or Game Maker Studio. I think it was Game Maker Studio that I was thinking about. Hold on a second. I got to look it up.
Let's look.
Game Maker Studio.
I just added music and sound effects to aspects of the game that we need to consider.
Oh, is this the one? I'm really hoping this is the one I was thinking about. No, this is different. Okay. Manage your cookie preferences. I only want essential cookies, please. All right. Showcase. Let's just take a look at this. Game Maker Studio. This is an AI suggestion.
Okay.
Ooh, Forager was made in there.
Forager.
Damn.
Hyperlight Drifter was made in this. This is
all right.
Hotline Miami. Yeah, these games are sweet.
This is big ones. Okay, Picto 8. Let's just check it out.
Okay.
Picto. I know it's almost time, but you don't have to drive home this time.
That's true. Yeah, it can go a little longer if we need.
There was this one, and I got to go figure it out, that would make assets. Now, this one looks like us. Play, create, and share tiny games and other cartridges. Those look sweet.
Yeah, those kind of look like Game Boy games, right?
It has color. It's almost like a Super Nintendo. This is pool.
Ooh.
Endless pool.
Hey, so I mean, I feel like we need to do research on all of these things, right? Because like that looks cool.
That looks great. And it's fun. I'm using the mouse to play this one, though.
Try look and see if there's Metroid. Just search Metroid.
Is there even a search on this? Picto 8. Let's see here. I'll say Metroid game Picto 8. We'll just do that. See what we get. Metroid Crimson. All right, this is probably beta. It's a work in progress. It looks like a Metroid style. It said booting too. Netroid. It's called Netroid. Press X to start. Oh, this looks cool. Original mode. Oh my god, it even has the music almost. Oh my god, that is so cute. Holy crap.
He's so damn cute.
I'm not even kidding. That is freaking cute. How do I jump? Oh my.
Like legs.
Oh my god. Oh my god, I love this. I want to. Oh, ow. I can't shoot up though.
I don't think in the original Metroid you could shoot up.
All right, I gotta time this. Ah, this is awesome. This is so Metroid though. Yes, you could shoot up in the original, couldn't you? Could you not?
No, I think.
Ah,
I like how the screen like shakes when you get hit.
it's like screen shake.
Like,
Woohoo! This has very Metroid feeling kind of vibes to it.
yeah.
Oh, got it. Finally killed something. All right, what's this little thing? Okay. Like, if we made this kind of a game, I would be so
Well, you know, like, what the only so it depends on like we're gonna have to search these and see like how easy it is to use any of these, right? Because it
that was sweet.
my biggest fear with the Game Boy Studio one is like we're gonna hit some limit of like the
Size.
textures
Yeah.
or images that we can use, and we're gonna be like, no, we have this amazing idea that we want to make it into this
Part 2.
larger
No,
sort
I'm
of
just
thing. Yeah, that's true.
People have already done that. So I think it's so research might be one of the last things that we'll have to do. I think we're, getting to the end of today's perspective.
Yeah.
And so we'll have to do that. But let's just look at this. So just to finalize on our ChatGPT findings. So conceptualize, choose the right tools, design the gameplay mechanics. Mechanics is a big one. Create art and music. Cool. That's the fun part. Develop a prototype. We're doing that. That's what we're going for. Play test and iterate. So
yeah, we'll have to see, and that's another thing. Like, we need to be able to release it to people to allow them to play it and then give us feedback, because that's a big part of like the chat and the community and all of that. That's
gonna be sweet. Optimize, debug. Yeah, that's the fun stuff. Distributed marketing and stay passionate and persistent.
Stay
Ryan,
passionate.
I love that, especially for novice. It can be challenging but extremely rewarding. Stay passionate about your project, buddy. Don't hesitate to seek help from the game development community. They're ready to put their arms around you and help you out.
Of course.
So, all right. Anyway, that's been sweet. I think this was good. I think we landed the plane what we were talking about tonight. We wanted to really get the game. So I love that we have a mural board right now that has all the stuff that we need. I think this is a great next step for us to start figuring out where we're going to go with the game. So one of the cool things with mural board is we could start putting some of our icons, our designs, all our stuff in there. You could even like do level design if we wanted to. I'm not going to use it for that, per se, but the idea is that we have a board that we can continue to iterate on and and add to as we go forward.
Yeah, I feel like we need this more for this than we probably needed it for the AI board game.
Sure,
but like we got by without it, We should also remember, because I feel like it's easy to do this when we're like in virtual space with each other.
Yeah.
When we're actually back, because the reason we're not hanging out together is like I have been sick for the last week and I didn't want to give what I had to Adam. Adam's not been feeling well, so he didn't want to give what he had to me. So we did this virtually, but like usually we're hanging out in Adam's studio during this entire time. So like we should make sure that we keep using this even when we're, in meat space.
Well, and I think the cool thing is we can bring it up because the stream wants to see what we did. And like, do you know how many freaking sticky notes that we have and I find every single day everywhere? Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's so much. And so I think this is a great place for me to say, here's my dumping ground for sticky notes. And then we can reorganize, we can remove, we can do all the things we need to do. This is good.
So before we leave, you and I, what are the action items coming out of this? What are we going to do before next time? Are we going to play some of these games? Are we going to talk offline and land on any of these decisions? Or are we going to make decisions on the stream?
That's a great question.
I think... Okay, you go ahead.
No, go. No, I was gonna. I don't know. I don't know the answers yet. Go for it.
I think an action item is to research platforms, because I feel like that is a big part of it. Because we're gonna have to pick a platform at some point, and like how easy are they to? And it's always tough, right? Because every platform tells you how easy they are to use.
Yeah.
So like the Game Boy Studio one is already high up on the list because you just have any kind of experience with it to begin with. So like I feel like researching that of like how easy they are to use and what kind of game that we can build in the amount of time and the scope that we have will be important.
Okay.
I think we should try to play a couple of these games, or just watch like in the Trello, I have all the games that I wrote down and like a little button that has their trailer. And the Axiom Verge one has a review, like a 3-minute IGN review that I feel like does a good job of showing like a bunch of different like scenes from it and what's cool about it.
I love that. Play test games we like. Let's keep this lean.
And then I
3
maybe the last one is just say we wanted to do something that wasn't
story ideas.
our own IP. Oh yeah, Trello is great. I use Trello to organize my entire life. Um, the like if we do our own story, it's likely going to be Skull Bobs, right? Because we have something to go with it.
Got a lot
But
of
like
content.
if we want to do a different story, start coming up with what you think those could be. Or if we want to do a different IP, what are some other IPs that we think could be like fun or interesting or quirky or like cool enough and different and interesting enough to us that we would be into it to do it for a whole freaking year or whatever.
I think that is a great idea, and so we're gonna all do that. We're gonna both research platforms. We're gonna play test some games, and then we're gonna come up with story ideas. Next round, we're gonna come back with those ideas, and I think what we want to do is we want to pitch, which ones we
this
think.
was almost called Adam versus Ryan. Wasn't like our initial
Adam
thing
versus
of like
Ryan.
Adam. It was like Adam versus Ryan because we always had like opposite opinions of everything, and so I love the idea of coming back and trying to just like argue, not even argue, but like convince the other person of their like. I feel like that has been fun because you convinced me pretty damn good of GB Studio. Until I saw this last platform. But.
Yeah, then you like a peek though. And we have folks that are helping out. Kylea, of course, we want you. We want
MVP.
you so much to help us with this. You have like
Totally.
the best experience. You've been on a stream gauntlet lately too, of like playing a lot of games, and so it's always good to kind of see how you attack those and your perspectives of things. It's been great. So anything you can provide is always helpful. Thank you.
Totally. And like Darth Gorokon has been in the chat a
hell
bunch.
yeah.
Like, Vendetta Red coming in for the first time. H.E. Higley was in there for a little bit too. Stealth Mouse.
I love it. Kylie's been played 3 games while lurking on her chart.
See, I feel like that's what we need is like that breadth of knowledge.
Yeah, like the combo of all the different pieces. Like I think Darth Oricon had some really good ideas on narrative and specific things on there. We have a good baseline to start from. I'm excited. Yeah.
Me too.
I think before this we said we were going to talk about it, and I did not expect us to have a full mural board with all the details that we were going to want by the end of this day, but here we are.
But it's almost like it was like just enough steps to be like, okay, we know we got to do some research for next time. I'm glad we like went and looked at things and did stuff as opposed to just picking one. Like, yes. that I'm glad we have like different options that we're going to go into.
Yeah, this is great. Well, thanks for everyone that's hung out tonight. We had a lot of just lurkers that never jump into the chat. So thanks for hanging out. We've had a consistent 6 viewers through this guy. And so if you're wanting to jump in, see more of this, please hit that subscribe so you'll know when we come on. It's every 2 weeks that we do the Adam and Ryan show. But I think what's going to be fun and what I'm going to work on is that I want to tie in some of those other ones that we work on and do some streams throughout the middle of this so that we can get some other gameplay in there and get some of those fun insights and start taking some notes, add some of this to this. And I think I want to target something playable within the next couple months here. I think that's going to be fun.
Yeah. Like I think that's doable. Like a really early alpha.
An alpha.
Right? Yeah.
Shooting some things.
I think that's totally doable. And yeah, shout out to anyone who's just like lurking in the chat and come, we have a Discord. Come check us out on Discord.
Yeah. Well, in any case, thank you for hanging out all the way to the end. We are going to take off for this evening. We will see you next time as we start to build our game on the Hangout with Adam and Ryan.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. We'll see you.
Bye.
Have a good night.